What is up, guys? Welcome to Jedi in Exile, the first of what we hope is a long series of podcasts all about Star Wars, our love of it, the whole franchise, the movies, everything. So I'd like to welcome my co-host for these podcasts,
Hello.
the Norfolk Lion.
Hey.
So this is Brian, one of my oldest mates. He also absolutely loves Star Wars. So we are in good hands this evening. We'll give you a quick rundown. First in chat, Mike. Welcome, mate. How are
Hey,
you
Mike.
getting on? What we're going to be doing is we're going to chat about 12 movies. So we're going to talk about the nine main saga movies, plus Solo, plus Rogue One, and also the Clone Wars animated movie.
Do not
Um,
forget Clone Wars. It is one of the Star Wars movies. It's a feature film. And
yeah.
anybody who says otherwise, I will fight.
Jar Jar Binks is the best character in the franchise, hands down. Well, Mike, if you're looking for controversy, mate, you have achieved it.
Straight away.
So we love to see
Straight
it. We
away.
love to see it. Welcome in, Tom. How you doing, mate? Hope you're well. So yeah, what we'll do is, Brian, if you want to kick off, mate, and chat to me about the movies, mate. What if I've never seen Star Wars before? What is the one movie that I
Oh,
should be
goodness
avoiding?
me.
What's the bottom of the list?
The bottom of the list, this was a toss-up for me. This was difficult. So, for me, it was Clone Wars, and I really hate to say that because the TV series, I think, is phenomenal. Um, but it's got to be Clone Wars because it's just compared to the rest of the movies, it's just quite junior, isn't it? It's you can really tell the TV series kind of grew up as it went on, but the film is very much stuck in that you've got to be really between like 10 and 14. Well, anywhere from like 5 to 14. Like my little boy's 3, likes watching it, but I'm a bit like, it's Star Wars, so I'll watch it. But for me, it ranks number 12.
So I would completely agree with you. Jar Jar Binks is a Sith Lord, of course, Tom. We
Yeah.
all know it's true. We
Yeah,
know it's
yeah,
happening.
yeah.
He's the one pulling the strings. Palpatine's his apprentice, right? That's how
And
that's how it
also,
goes.
Tom, I agree with the phrase Jar Jar is life. Yes, indeed, he is.
But no, honestly, mate, I would agree with you. I would put Clone Wars at number 12, unfortunately, and completely agree with your reasoning. I think he it's pretty junior. I remember getting bought it when it first came out, and I must have been, and I'm spitballing here because I don't know the exact date, but I must have been 16 maybe, and
It must
watched.
have been released in like well, episode 3 came out in 2005, and I feel like Clone Wars came out 2008.
Let's have a look.
Um, so I feel like it's 2008.
So the Clone Wars movie, yeah, 2008 it was released.
2008. I feel like it, yeah, I feel like it was 3 years after Revenge of the Sith.
So it came out and was like obviously the kickoff to the whole TV show as well.
Yeah.
But kind of my main thing is it was incredibly junior. So 2008, I would have been gonna have to do some quick maths now. 13 years. I would have been 14 at the time. 14, 15 at the time, depending on when in the year it fell. And I remember thinking, yes, it was just a bit kind
You
of.
need to watch it. I think you need to watch it. I think what threw everybody was, and certainly for me, and until the TV series progressed after being cancelled like twice, until it progressed, I was still really angry. You introduce Ahsoka and Anakin's got a Padawan, and I was like, this is a really big part of the story. And yet, how the hell can you work this into what's happened in episode 3? Like, I get that George Lucas has created this weird fucking universe where he started with episode 4, he's done 4, 5, 6, then it's 1, 2, 3, and then it's 7, 8, 9. Like I get that it's a bit fucked up like that, but you've created such a big character, and there's going to be no mention of her in Revenge of the Sith. I was a bit like, why have you done this? Like, you've just gone a bit. You've tried to meddle with it too much.
No,
And I
so
think it's only as the TV series goes on where obviously you can see, come the end of the Clone Wars TV show, how good actually Ahsoka as a character is.
no, and I totally agree with you. My issue is that and I have this problem with multiple movies. It's not just this one, but Ahsoka's just in the whole thing. It's the introduction to her as a character, as you said, pivotal character in the whole kind of grand scheme of things. Massive point for Anakin as an apprentice, and she's just whiny. She's a little kid. Like that's the problem. And the issue is that at this point in the whole situation as well, Anakin is also still a bit of a kid, and therefore you've centered an entire movie pretty much around two kids that are whiny, don't care, and kind of just want to do their own thing. And actually, do you know what? The animation, if you compare the animation of that to the last like the newest series of the Clone Wars, it's leaps and bounds, completely different. It hasn't aged well, and it doesn't look great. So
I think that I always thought that the Clone Wars was going to be like the story because you'd assume it's set almost directly after Attack of the Clones. I always thought that you'd assume that it would be the story of Anakin becoming a Jedi Knight because Attack of the Clones ends and he's still a Padawan, gets married to Padme, and then you jump straight into Clone Wars and his hair's grown out and he's not got the braid anymore, so he's a Jedi Knight. And I'm like, surely there's a story here that could be told. Like it could be a mission with Obi-Wan and then suddenly the Council, Yoda's like, we've got to make this dude a Jedi Knight. Like let's make him one of us, one of us.
I totally get you, mate. I'm gonna have to interrupt you because Tom's Toast in chat has redeemed the "Make Me Dab" command, and as your first feature on the channel, unfortunately, I'm gonna have to make you dab, mate.
Oh dear. Gee.
That is one that big pinheaded Mike, not even pinheaded Mike, pinhead Mike since his name change, would be proud of. So thank you. Thanks for the redemption, Tom. No, I completely agree with it, and I think that's the problem. I think both of us would agree, bottom of the list, and chat hasn't disagreed. So I'm going to go ahead and say, boom, bottom of the list.
Yeah, I think we can officially confirm that is the 12th best film of the Star Wars franchise.
You heard it here first, folks. Dave, hey, none of that, mate, none of that. Dave, long term.
Davey, yes, I completely agree. That guy's obviously got some sense. Davey H.
Not having it.
Right, Matthew, tell me what's next on your list. So, what is number 11 on your all-time Star Wars feature film list?
So I got a few that are down there, and I feel like the middle of the list for me was easy, but top and bottom both a little bit of a toss-up. I'm gonna go in strong with, and this I think it's gonna be a popular opinion. Last Jedi. Last Jedi.
Yeah, so I've not got Last Jedi there. I've got Solo. However, it was for me a toss-up between Last Jedi. Last Jedi is the only Star Wars film, and it's not at the bottom of my list, but it's the only Star Wars film that I really hate. That I'm like, this has ruined. For me, I am one of those Star Wars fans who's like, they shouldn't have made the sequels. Like, they shouldn't have made 7, 8, 9. I didn't think they needed to. But it's a Star Wars film, so, they're obviously going to be good, right? And yet, Last Jedi just ruins everything for me. The whole story with Luke, who is this hero throughout everything. He can't turn to the dark side. He sees the little bit of good in Darth Vader, who at the time was like the most badass villain in movies in the 80s. And yet, Luke Skywalker suddenly is a bit like, oh no, I don't want to go back. I'm not going to help out. Oh no, there's no hope. Like, fuck you, Rian Johnson. Like,
so
that's how I feel.
I mean, to be fair, mate, that is pretty much my reasoning behind it. Is the one movie in the saga that I think I watched it in the cinema, like first week it came out, and then in fact I think we went to see it together.
Yeah, we did. Yeah,
and then I remember when it was it beautiful. I remember not watching the movie, just staring into your eyes. But no, I think like I watched it, didn't really enjoy it. I think we walked out of it absolutely slating it, and then rewatched it when it got released on home release, thinking, do you know what? Maybe I was having a bit of a bad day. Maybe I was a little bit disappointed. Let's give it another go. And just thinking, this is as terrible as the first time I watched it.
Yeah, again, I feel like it's one of those that I really like the character of Kylo Ren. I actually think out of those films, and I think we should have maybe explored his fall a bit more. I think those 7, 8, and 9 could have just changed the storyline just slightly and focused it more on like Kylo Ren's fall. But because for me, what I don't like about 7, 8, and 9 is the fact that the Skywalker saga for me is about the rise, fall, and redemption of Anakin Skywalker. That like this that's what the saga is for me, and that's what George Lucas always said the saga was about. From between 1 and 3 is the rise and the fall, and then obviously 4, 5, 6 is then the redemption of Anakin Skywalker, aka Darth Vader. And 8 just really frustrates me. Like Snoke is like a nothing character. We don't know the backstory of him. I feel like Disney did it in a way with those films that they like teased little bits, knowing that they can then do a spin-off film or a spin-off series here.
So my issue with your comments about Snoke, and this is potentially what people will be picking up on, and just kind of playing devil's advocate here, is that Palpatine, when 4, 5, 6 came out, wasn't hated, and Palpatine was in the very same, like, very similar boat. He was featured in small like snippets of the movie, wasn't explained,
I agree, but you
wasn't
kind of
explored.
expected because you're starting with episode 4, 5, 6, you assume that you're going to find stuff out in 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, but
Whereas when it's film 8, and then you're thinking, oh, film 9 will explain Snoke, and it doesn't.
and I think that's the
So
problem, right? Is that that
8
Palpatine,
made a promise that 9 just couldn't deliver
yeah,
on.
Palpatine was redeemed by 1, 2, 3 because we actually got some backstory.
Yeah,
We got
yeah,
some
yeah.
setup to 4, 5, 6. My main issue with Last Jedi, and pretty much the reason that it features at the bottom of the list, I think runtime is in excess of 2 hours. There is an hour of the movie that can be cut.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
entire Canto Bite piece,
oh, God, yeah.
and also the entire piece with, can't think of the actor's name. I'm sure somebody will tell me. The guy who's like the hacker.
Oh, yeah, God, yeah, no, I know.
Benicio del
That
Toro.
whole bit was, yeah,
Benicio del Toro's character did not need to exist.
yeah.
It was an
The whole them going to the casino was just absolutely bullshit. Like,
it was an excuse.
no
It was an
relevance to
excuse
the
to
story.
put. It was an excuse to pull in some scenes that were like slightly exciting, little bit of
Yeah,
action,
special effects.
little bit of adventure, show off some special effects. And Benicio del Toro's character got pulled in. I'm pretty sure he got teased in the trailers, and then literally had the smallest little bit. Was super predictable that he would double cross, and it was just pointless. Um,
Yeah, I feel like they could have done so much more in number 8 with I actually thought Finn's storyline in The Force Awakens again promised so much that then wasn't delivered on. It's almost like Disney released Force Awakens and then thought, right, people have liked this, so we're going to do the complete fucking opposite just to see how it goes down. And
the thing that I disliked about what it did to his character is, so obviously he deserted, right? He deserts in Force Awakens, and the desertion in Force Awakens is because he sees all the atrocities that the Empire are committing. He sees one of his mates die, and so he leaves. Now, to me, that's him taking a moral stand against the Empire's doing something he sees as bad. He's going to walk away from it. He doesn't want anything to do with it. He joins up with the rebellion, I guess, out of necessity, because that's how he's surviving and that's how he gets, like,
it's his only other option, isn't it?
yeah. But then what I would have liked to have seen is a little bit of redemption there. A little bit of, okay, he's deserted, which some people would say is bravery. Some people would say it's not, depending on where you sit on the whole in-canon politics of the situation. But then he tries to run away again. And it just,
Yeah.
the whole thing makes him out to be this coward, which is not
Just
what
a
you want to
flip-flop.
see about, like, a main character in a movie. Like, Dave in chat saying, again, not a great movie in general, whole casino section takes the piss. Exactly. That's the problem, and that is why I've put it at number 11 on the list.
And that's where you try and give people the benefit of the doubt, but I keep racking my head whenever I watch it. I'm still like, when they were doing the cut of this or writing the screenplay, and there's so like loads of people sat in a room. Why the fuck didn't anybody stand up and say, "What the fuck is this about, guys? Like,
Because
what's going on
because
here?"
everyone probably sat and did exactly what you or I do and go, we're working on Star Wars. We are working on Star
Yeah,
Wars, and
yeah. Fuck it, just put anything in.
that's
Like,
that's
just
that's
get.
that's the problem.
They'll watch it. They'll watch it.
All I'm gonna say is Filoni wouldn't have let it happen.
No,
Filoni wouldn't
no,
have
he
let it
wouldn't.
happen.
Praise be to Filoni.
In Filoni we trust.
Yeah,
So do you wanna? I mean, do you wanna give me some reasoning
yeah.
as to
So I,
why Solo's that low on your
yeah.
list?
So I had Solo, and I think the big thing for me is I think it is a fucking cardinal sin that Han Solo or Han, his last name being Solo, is because some fucking Imperial guard on Corellia is like, oh, you're on your own. I'll call you Solo. Fucking good one. Like, Christ Almighty, that for me, when I was watching it, I was thinking, oh, this is like a fairly good start to the movie. Like, Amelia Clarkson. I was like, yeah, this is awesome. And actually, I think the actor who plays Han, actually, I think it's very difficult to play like basically Harrison Ford. I think he actually does a pretty good job. Fair play to him. But just when he gets his name, I was almost like, why the fuck am I watching this?
So this is
Like,
that was probably my main issue with the whole thing anyway. So the actual movie, again, I don't know if I went and saw it at the cinema, but I watched it the first time, and was
I didn't
like,
see it at the cinema because it was absolutely panned, and I couldn't find the time to actually go and watch it. But I remember getting the Blu-ray, and the Blu-ray sat in the wrapper, cellophane thing, whatever it is, for probably about 3 months, and then I started watching it twice. Got to the solo after the solo bit where he gets his name, and I just couldn't finish it. I kept falling asleep because it was so boring. And then
so
eventually one day I was like, I need to just sit and watch this shit.
so I thought I kind of watched it and was like, yes, it had been panned, absolutely destroyed reviews wise, but I thought it's Star Wars. I'm gonna watch
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Watched it. I remember getting really annoyed at the same bit because my issue is so growing up,
He's
my
like a legendary character.
yeah, but so my issue is like growing up. I know that Disney came in retconned like so much stuff when they, like which is
Yeah.
why you've now got the Legends universe and the canon universe. So
Which we'll do another episode on, guys. Don't worry, because that is too much for one episode. For just one episode.
as like an introduction from like from for where I came from in regards to all this Star Wars stuff. So my dad, he kind of grew up on sci-fi, loved sci-fi, and introduced me to Star Wars at a really young age. I remember watching A New Hope when I was probably like 4 or 5, and watching it on VHS. I'm pretty sure we chucked a VHS out because it got so worn out from rewatching. And remember loving it, absolutely loving it. Shout out to the Don, by the way, if he's watching. Shout out to the Don.
Nasty.
And so he had tons of the books, and there are hundreds and hundreds of these things floating around. And I remember one of the first ones that I read was the Han Solo trilogy, the original Han Solo trilogy, right? And I remember being so engrossed in these books, loving them, loving the whole story, and they just completely ripped it away and went, "Nah, you're all right." And
Yeah, I
and
find that really frustrating. Like, I've got over 100 of the Star Wars books. I think I've got about 115, and literally the writers have done so good to take this whole universe and like expand on it, and they haven't gone over the edge with it. I think they've actually done really well to take George Lucas's world and expand it enough that we're excited and we want to read about it, but also not being like, well, that doesn't fit right with that character, how they were in the movie. This doesn't fit right. I think the Han Solo books were really good.
and my thing is that it followed similar sort of stuff. Like, it introduced us to Chewie, how they met. There was the same kind of theme that Han was doing all of this stuff because of like a girl that he was in love with, and not because of him wanting to be a hero, which was one of the things that George Lucas kind of actually said, is that Han was never a hero.
No.
Han did what he needed to do to survive, and that was the whole premise of 4, 5, 6. And towards the end of
He came
6,
back at A New Hope because he got boarded, didn't he? That's
yeah,
the story, that he got boarded and lost all, obviously, his reward. This big reward that he was going to use to pay Jabba back. He gets boarded by pirates,
yeah,
loses all
and
the
he drops it.
things. So
He
he's
drops
probably,
it. Yeah,
yeah, and he's probably like, well, actually, I need to go back now. And that's why he comes back
and
with, if you believe Family Guy, with the sofa.
and
You
that
see how much more comfortable we are shooting stuff in this thing?
they kind of followed that. and they used bits of it, which I appreciate. But the whole point was he was a guy that had grown up on Corellia. He had family on Corellia, like distant relatives on Corellia, and Solo was his family name. It wasn't any of this rubbish, and I don't understand at what point somebody sits in a room and goes, "Great idea, really really good idea. Yep, sure, let's go for it."
Well, I feel like if they'd have just done like a focus group of like five normal Star Wars fans, people have just seen them all and maybe read a couple of books and said, "What do you think of this?" All five of them would have been like,
Nah, not happening.
"What is going on?"
Yep.
Like, you've got to change that bit because he's like Han Solo is, he's just a legendary character. Like, people
I
loved
also
him. Guys wanted to go out for a drink with him. Girls wanted to shag him. Like, that was, and that's basically Harrison Ford in general.
The James Bond of
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Star Wars universe,
yeah.
and but I also and this probably is not going to be a popular opinion, really dislike Donald Glover as Lando. Did not enjoy that
That is an
at all.
unpopular opinion. I like Donald Glover. I think there's a bit of like a, I don't know, like a myth around him as a person, but I thought his portrayal of Lando was actually pretty good.
Not for it, mate. Not for it. The other thing that I really disliked is I'm gonna call it Sabak, but they're like Sabak.
Sabak.
But Sabak. So in the Han Solo trilogy books, they explain how it all works, and it's essentially like in the books, it's like blackjack, but the cards have digital values, like have digital readouts on them,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and at the end of every hand they like shuffle, and so the whole point is that you could be sat on 21s, and then it could shuffle and you could have the worst hand in the go, and the whole point is that Han Solo's lucky, right? That's the whole premise, is that Han Solo's like life is on luck. He just gets lucky time after time after time. And when he
yeah,
wins the Falcon, he wins the Falcon on the card switching. Nothing to do with anything else. Not his brains, not
yeah,
any like cons or anything like that. It's literally on the card switching, and they completely retconned it. There you go. Dave
yeah.
saw Solo once, so
Maybe he has got his finger on the pulse.
I'm assuming from that, mate, that you'd put it towards the bottom of the list, somewhere in the bottom 3 or 4. You know, so I agree. I agree with you putting it lower down the list. I've got it a couple places higher, but it is down there because it's
Yeah,
not great. The only thing that redeemed it for me was that second time I watched it, I thought not as bad as the first time.
yeah,
It
yeah.
it felt better, but
Yeah, no,
it
it
still
did.
wasn't
Don't get me
great.
wrong, but yeah. I think it's the kind of movie that somebody, and I think this about Rogue One almost as well. You could watch it as a bit of a standalone movie, and I think some people who I spoke to who aren't really into Star Wars have seen Solo and quite liked it, and they quite liked it because there wasn't like lightsabers and like all of that like stuff that they associate being with Star Wars. So that's the only thing I can say, that it probably appealed maybe to a little bit of a different audience,
Yeah, to
but
like a general
it's not
demographic
good.
more than a
It's not
Star
good.
Wars based demographic. Now, like Dave's pointed out, and I appreciate that actually, because I there's something that I meant to bring up and didn't. It's the Maul tease at the end is class. As somebody that loves Maul, so good. It then ties in with Clone Wars.
Yeah, I
Um,
was gonna say I like the fact that with the Maul thing there, because unless you've seen Clone Wars, people are like, "Oh my God, Darth Maul's back," and
and
you
the,
need to. Disney have done quite well. You need to have basically watched Clone Wars to understand, obviously, that bit of
how he's
Solo.
back,
Like,
yeah.
yeah,
And so my thing is that so I watch a lot of other Star Wars podcasts, try and keep up with like Star Wars news and stuff. Watch the video that Star Wars Theory on YouTube. Great channel for anyone that loves Star Wars. Massive channel. Guy's an absolute hero. Um, he put out a piece. He bought this book that is basically like a guy interviewing George Lucas, and it's like 300 pages of interviews with George Lucas, some like behind the scenes looks and stuff. And basically, he said that his plan for everything was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then that end trilogy was supposed to be what happened after the Empire fell. There's a big old hole, and basically, Maul is the person who has united all of the crime syndicates, and Maul was supposed to be the big bad for 789. Maul was supposed to be the key guy, and he was supposed to have united all of the crime syndicates. Even to the point, yeah, we're talking about the spin-off movies at the moment, Tom.
Because they're that shit. They're at the bottom of
they're
our
at the
list.
bottom of the list. So even to the point of he mentions in this interview, and the interview was done ages ago, right? The interview was done before Clone Wars actually got to its full piece. But he talks about we're gonna have Maul resurrected on spider legs. Did it in the Clone Wars. Then the spider legs are gonna go, and he's gonna come back on normal metal 2 legs, and then he's gonna get to the top of the crime syndicates, run the crime syndicates, and in this vacuum of power that's created when the Empire falls, you can have remnants of the Empire, some of the rebellion, which becomes the New Republic. And then you're going to have this gap filled. And that was the plan. And they just threw it out the window. Gone. It was an easy tease that was a nice little nod to the fans at the end of Solo. Done, dusted, write it off. Thanks very much. I'll have my paycheck. Welcome in, Slim. How you doing, dude? Thank you for stopping in. Be interested to get some of your thoughts on it. Caravan of Courage. So we'll go to number 10, mate. Let me know what you got at number 10.
Yeah, so Clone Wars is the worst one, then Solo for me, then Last Jedi. So we're kind of
We're around
thereabouts the same at the moment. The next one for me
No, whoa,
is...
whoa. We've not touched on 10 for me, mate.
Oh, wow.
I didn't have a straight swap out. This is what I said.
So did you not?
No.
Did you not have Last Jedi there?
No, I had Last Jedi in at 11.
Oh, so you had Clone Wars, Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Oh, what's your number 10 then?
I
Please,
got Attack of the Clones in at 10.
Oh my God, why?
Attack of the Clones is one of the worst movies in the entire saga, mate. And I will not have anybody tell me any differently.
Whoa. Lois, this is not my Batman class. Attack of the Clones, I have got it a few spaces higher than you. Not loads higher. I feel like if Star Wars was a TV series, Attack of the Clones would be a really good part of the series. Because I feel like you need that kind of immature Anakin.
Didn't need 2 hours of it. Didn't need 2 hours of it.
Okay, maybe not.
Of him,
I think it's difficult with him whining like, I killed all of them, not just the men, but the women and the children too. I slaughtered them like animals.
Attack of the Clones, and other than the Phantom Menace, which we'll come on to in a bit, but other than Attack of the Clones, other than the Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones has got to be one of the most memeable Star Wars movies out there. Because there's too much sand in that movie. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Dave.
And it's rough, it's coarse, and it gets everywhere. I think Attack of the Clones, again, I keep saying this phrase, but I feel like if there was another film after Revenge of the Sith, where you had Attack of the Clones, where it was like Anakin is like an immature little brat, then you've got Revenge of the Sith as him like actually being a bit more mature, fighting these emotions inside, like mental health awareness and all that, like turning to the dark side. And then you could have like another extra segment on Revenge of the Sith of him actually being Darth Vader. And I feel like that would be like a really good transition. But Attack of the Clones, I think there's some really good bits of it, and I think it is slightly better than the Phantom Menace. But yeah, I don't like whiny Anakin in Attack of the Clones.
And that is
I still think it's one of those that it's like needed for the story. Like you need to have him as that.
But I feel like it was needed for the story, but not like really. Nice, Tom. To be fair, the Family Guy spin-off, something Dark Side, is actually quite funny. So
yeah.
For those of you that haven't seen it, get out there and watch it. It's on Disney Plus as well. For those of you that got it. Yeah, like my issue is it's a whingy Anakin, but not only is it like a whingy, it's really creepy, man. Like, and forget about the whole like the 5-year age gap between Anakin and Padme. Fine, is what it is. Like, it's part of the story.
Yeah.
Forget about it. Park that to one side.
Go on, you finish.
No, go on.
I was just going to say, can we just give, while we're talking about Attack of the Clones, can we give an honourable mention to Obi-Wan Kenobi's mullet? because that sure is business at the front and party at the back. That is like a fine head of hair, and the Lego character in Lego Star Wars really captures the beauty of his mullet
Do you
from
think
Attack of the Clones.
do you
That is
think
Obi-Wan's best
do
hairstyle.
you think at that point they were thinking about the merchandising and they were thinking, how can we make the Lego characters really realistic? Do you know what? Instead of making the Lego character look like the person, let's make the person look like a Lego character and then kill it.
Yeah,
It'll be class.
yeah.
Attack of the Clones is not the one where Kirk meets Khan, mate. That is Empire Strikes Back. So you'll have to keep an eye on that one. Star Wars during Attack of the Clones. Shit. Hey, you behave, Slim. You behave. No, it's 5, right? It's 5 years because in the first one,
Yeah,
he's not he's 9 and she's 14.
And she's 14, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's a 10-year gap between Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones.
Yeah.
There's
But
a 10-year gap there.
but he's just like whingy. It's all a bit weird, and I totally understand that he's like 9 years old and allegedly Chuck. He's 9 years old, and in those 9 years, he has definitely learned some like social norms and social etiquette. I totally get that he's a slave, but he's engaging with people in a social like construct, right? In a proper society.
He's a slave that just randomly talks to strangers in the shop. Like slaves probably wouldn't do. You wouldn't see that on Game of Thrones anyway.
But my issue is that that he just has no idea how to like talk to people, how to do any of this stuff. And I get that in that 10 years he's been at the Jedi Temple, which obviously isn't your normal upbringing. But it's just a bit weird, man. And I really, it's not great for me. I feel like it dangled too much stuff because the whole Cypher DS stuff, no one understands what's going on there unless you go and play Star Wars Bounty Hunter and watch Attack of the Clones. You ain't got a clue what's going on. So it was all just a bit like, let's dangle this out there and never really explain it. Unless you've got diehard fans that are like, we're going to go away and watch all of this other stuff. It's just a bit weird, man. Like and that's.
I do think there's some really good characters in Attack of the Clones. So like I think the whole, obviously the Clone Wars is teased in A New Hope, and you're like, what the hell's the Clone Wars gonna be like? And to see the story, I think it's really good. I think the good thing about Attack of the Clones is you can see, like, obviously it's the foreshadowing to the Stormtroopers. You can kind of see Palpatine's plan of like, you can kind of see where Episode 3 is going. You kind of get the feeling of where things are going. So I think there's actually Attack of the Clones. I think plot wise is actually a really good film. I actually think that plot wise, what happens, it's not like Phantom Menace where I'm like, if I can swim underwater.
Hey, whoa! You behave yourself.
Like,
you behave yourself. We'll get onto that.
Like,
You behave yourself.
Yeah, well that's But I feel like the actual storyline of Attack of the Clones is actually pretty good. I think if they just didn't do like whiny Anakin, because whiny Anakin he's on Tatooine. I think it's Attack of the Clones is like a throwback to the older films. You've got like Jango Fett, the throwback to Boba Fett. They're going to Tatooine where obviously Luke is in A New Hope. You see Owen and Bree, whatever her name is, fucking aunt, yeah, whatever her fucking name is.
So I'm just going to address I'm just going to address a couple comments in chat, mate. So Tom's Toast, best character, Pizza the Hut. Actually, mate, I think you'll find if you've watched the Spaceballs movie, we didn't mention Pizza the Hut because sadly no longer with us, got trapped in his own car and ate himself to death. So Chili Beans, he's not making the.
Can I just say as well, while we're on the subject with say Ninja Statements, but do you not think Jabba the Hutt and Jar Jar Binks should battle to the death? This would be an interesting one because Jabba would have the strength. That tail, I bet, could whip round. But Jar Jar's got speed and agility, so I feel like he'd be jumping all over the show. Also, I'd like to see Jar Jar in the Leia bikini.
If he's
that's something
if he's the Jar Jar from the Lego Star Wars games, he can jump about 60 feet in the air, so it's all good.
That's very true, which is really good for getting blue coins and canisters.
And then Slim's put Attack of the Clones the most underrated because also the most misunderstood, I'm guessing that says, and riddled with poor directing decisions. but the meat of the story of the episode is entirely integral to all parts of
Yeah,
the
I
trilogies.
agree.
So I agree with that point, but then you can't ignore what's wrong with it,
I
and
feel like
the poor directing decisions. Oh,
I
what's wrong
feel
with
like
it? That's
the
why I've put it so
prequel
low.
the prequel films, I think it's one of those that you had all the people who were raised on 4, 5, and 6 who, and kind of like I am, that were raised on 4, 5, and 6. 1, 2, and 3 come out, and they're like, ah, shit, shit, shit. Because that's what I'm like with 7, 8, 9. I was raised on 1, 2, 3 and think they're great. And I think as time's gone on, we have actually appreciated how good actually 1, 2, 3 are as a set of films and how good they are storyline. And I do think Attack of the Clones sets up Revenge of the Sith absolutely brilliantly. I think it's the perfect like middle film where actually you could say not really loads and loads happens, but actually in a sense it does because it's setting up all the different bits to happen in Revenge of the Sith for the final chapter.
And I think that's maybe also my issue. The pacing of it is quite slow. And there were some deleted scenes, which, for those of you that have seen them, you'll know what I'm talking about. There's some deleted scenes of Anakin and Padme on Naboo when they disappear off when she goes into hiding and he goes to protect her. That kind of they tell the story a little bit more, but again, it comes down to the director's decision to pull that, which was probably for pacing. But the reason that they've pulled that, which I would assume is for pacing because they're slow, drawn out scenes, imagine what that would have been like with those in, because it's a slow film anyway. And I think that's the issue. It's a long, slow film. I think if you actually think about that, and I don't know the exact runtime, but it's got to be around 2 hours because most of them are, right.
Yeah, it's around 220, I think.
That you've got a tiny bit of action when Obi-Wan fights Django. Literally lasts like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
You've got a tiny bit of action where he's chasing him through the asteroid field. Again, must last 2-3 minutes.
And then you've got a big fucking showdown
And then
in
you've
the Geonosis arena, which I think is fucking badass. It's not like
man.
the Dooku fight isn't really that great. I mean, that's pretty shit. I'll give you that. And the whole Yoda fighting is like, what the fuck? But I think the Jedi arena in Geonosis is fucking well good.
Okay, so for those that are listening and not looking at chat, regardless of which trilogy, Slim says, regardless of which trilogy we all grew up with, community consensus, the final trilogy was a slap in the damn face full of some SJW bullshit and terrible writing by people with overinflated egos that got that way because they got to work on Star Wars. If you see a flower which you love, you don't pick it. If you do, it dies and ceases to be that which you love. Which
Someone get that man a medal.
yeah, and to be fair, Slim, so
Get a nail on the head there, Slim.
I've got one movie from that trilogy higher up the list, but we talked about it, and I think Last Jedi epitomizes that. I felt, and we'll come on to talk about it more, but the one thing I'm going to say to address that comment is, at least with Force Awakens and Rise of Skywalker, bit of consistency because you had JJ there from the beginning, beginning to end. So he kind of tail ended it. I feel like The Last Jedi, because of that, just became a muddled movie. And to be fair, Slim, I know you missed some of it, mate. If you want to go back and watch the VOD, we'll love it. We're going to put it up on YouTube and it'll be available on here, but we'll see. Tom's Toast coming in with the old
waiting to see the first person who actually put that entire
tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise.
Bravo, Tom's Toast, bravo.
We love it. We appreciate that. We always appreciate those references here.
Right, Matthew, talk to me then. So you have got Clone Wars,
Attack of the Clones.
then you've got Last Jedi.
Yeah.
And then you've got
Attack of the Clones. That's where
Attack
I put
of
it.
the Clones. Okay.
Then I'll get this one out of the way because we've already done it to death.
Yeah.
Solo, I've put it in at 9.
Yeah.
We've covered it. Anybody that missed it, run it back. Happy days. What you got in at 9?
So I've got Phantom Menace.
No, get out. Leave. You're never on the podcast again. Get out.
And
Done.
I've only got Phantom Menace. So I've got Phantom Menace and then Attack of the Clones. I think Attack of the Clones is better than the Phantom Menace. But Phantom Menace could have actually been a really good film if they'd have just not had fucking Jar Jar and the Gungans. Like, what stupid creatures. And the reason I think that, obviously George Lucas, I assume, wanted to make 1, 2, and 3 so different to 4, 5, 6. Because there's nothing like that in... I think he thought that it was going to be like a Chewbacca or something like that. He was going to be like this eternal loved creature.
It's,
Someone's got the high ground. Sorry, I got confused there
it's fine.
because
It's fine. You're good.
Tom had the high ground.
You're good.
But Phantom Menace, if they just changed the story slightly, where it wasn't Gungans and there wasn't Jar Jar, who was just like a fucking comedy act who can't even like run properly and fucking like there's a look basically a big massive vehicle coming towards him and he's like ah
So do you know
like
do you know what the
it's
problem
just
is?
nuts.
And this is going to be like, don't get me wrong, as a Star Wars fan, it's blasphemy to criticize Lucas, right? Like, Lucas is the god, he's the father. Don't be going there. I'm going to criticize Lucas here because he said this, and I've watched and listened to a lot of things. I remember watching a documentary with George Lucas talking about it, and he said that so he made 4, 5, 6. He'd written 1, 2, 3, and the only reason that he didn't release them is because, or they didn't make them, was because he knew that the technology wasn't there. You've got to remember, so A New Hope 77,
Empire Strikes Back.
Empire Strikes Back. Sorry, was 80,
yeah 80 and then
and then 83, 84 for
yeah, it was 83.
Return of the Jedi, right? So
Yeah.
83 didn't have what they needed, and he realized that, but he's also admitted that Jar Jar was an added like piece.
Yeah, well, there's loads of clips going around at the moment on like TikTok of like George Lucas doing his final cut, Phantom Menace, and he's like, I might have gone too far in places, and you're like, really, George?
So
Really?
all I'm
Fucking Jar Jar
all I'm gonna
Binks.
say is could have been much worse because for Michael Jackson wanted to play Jar Jar Binks and was friends with Lucas at the time, and they were trying to find a way of getting him in the movie, and he wanted to play Jar Jar Binks, and Lucas put his foot down and said nah, and thank God he did,
I did not know that actually,
because
because
it would have been gone, it would have been done.
can you imagine Jar Jar just like fucking moonwalking somewhere?
It's ridiculous, mate. Like. I agree with what you're saying. I've put Phantom Menace slightly higher up the list, and I'll cover it off now while we're talking about it. So Phantom Menace, for me, is the first movie that was released in my lifetime.
Yeah.
And for that reason, and I will fully admit this, but it doesn't stop the way that I look at it and where I put it in the thing. For me, I see it through rose-tinted glasses a little bit because it was the first,
Okay.
the first Star Wars movie that I was like, this was made for me, not for
Okay.
not for
I
not
mean,
for somebody 30 years ago.
you're wrong, obviously, with your opinion on it, but I do understand it.
I also
That
just think if we're gonna talk about it setting things up, like we talked about Attack of the Clones setting things up, gave us Maul. Okay, he killed him at the end, but the whole thing was he had the plan for the resurrection and all that kind of stuff, and we wouldn't have got to see that without Phantom
Yeah, well,
Menace.
we'll just having a double like that's just a moment in like Star Wars and cinema history, like
I
when you get
honestly
fucking lightsaber out, like
one thing
and the double lightsaber comes out, and you're like, holy fuck, I just screamed. Like,
one of the things that I would say about Star Wars as a franchise, whilst we're talking about Maul, is they have had the ability to make these, and I don't know if I've ever seen something else. I'm sure people in chat will start going, "Oh, what about this movie? What about this movie?" But for me personally, for things that I've seen, I think I've ever seen a franchise use two characters, one being Boba Fett, who literally says nothing, and everyone was like, "Oh my god, he's amazing! This guy's badass! Like, we love him." And then Maul, who I believe has one line in the entire
last
movie
we will reveal ourselves to the Jedi. At last we will have
that wasn't even spoken by the actor playing him.
Yeah, I know.
So, to me, unreal, absolutely
See,
unreal.
I've seen Phantom Menace in a different light since reading the Darth Plagueis book. So the thing for me, I find Phantom Menace a little bit more like, oh, that's fucking cool, because I know that from the book, spoiler alert for people, that when Maul and Palpatine are on the balcony, or Maul and Sidious, whatever you want to call him, because at that point he basically is Darth Sidious. Darth Sidious is actually the apprentice, and Darth Plagueis is still alive. And Darth Plagueis is the one who installs Palpatine as Chancellor. He's still got this plan, and Palpatine, after sending Maul off, is like, right, fuck this bitch, I'm gonna take him on, and kills Plagueis while Plagueis is in the chair like
You're out.
fucking
You're out.
regenerating.
You're out. You're
He's
out.
like
God.
he's like on Yarmouth seafront at the skeleton in the electric chair. He's getting battered by electrics by Palpatine. He's like unlimited power, and he's going for it, and it just brings a whole new meaning to Phantom Menace for me. It
So
just
I think that's an.
I just think it's so cool.
No, I think that's class. Just before we move on, Slim, I hit you with the hydrate, mate. I didn't say sorry. I did hit you with the hydrate. Yes, we can get a shout out for the Cantina band. Play that
Will
same
Cantina
song.
play that same song?
Okay, same song. For those of you that haven't seen Blue Harvest,
That's
go watch it.
That's up there as obviously one of the best Star Wars songs. But actually, I like the one that the frog sings in Return of the Jedi with the really long
banger,
mouth.
absolute banger. The Max, that's the Max Rebo band, isn't it? Max Rebo
Yeah.
band.
Oh no, never shook it,
Shout out to the Max Rebo band as well. And yeah, just I mean I agree. It's fine. Like I get why you've put it there. I agree with all your reason. I agree with all your reasoning, other than the fact that it was the one that was released, and that's the only reason I've moved it higher up the list. So happy days. That was your 9, right?
9 was Phantom Menace. Yeah, I then had Attack of the Clones at 8.
Okay, so we talked about that.
We've done that. Is your 8 anyone which we haven't spoken about already?
Yes, it is.
Oh, okay. Go. So
My
what's your 8?
My 8, and this is going to go down so badly, and I can't believe I'm going on record saying this. Empire.
Oh my god! Holy fuck! Are you being serious?
Empire at 8.
What the fuck? Empire is an absolute classic. I'm really surprised about this.
I'm gonna.
Are you even a Star Wars fan? You've got Empire. You have no. I'm right. I'm gonna go out there and say this already. Like Empire is my number 2.
How no
like,
man?
This is
Empire's
absolutely
not
fucking insane.
Empire's not a
hold
good
on.
movie.
Right, hold on. I'm gonna give you like a minute to justify this. Like you've got a minute to justify how on earth you can have Empire as your 8th best Star Wars film. You've got fucking Rogue One better. You've got 7 and 9 better. Oh my god, it's just cardinal sin.
I haven't got 7 better. Oh yes, I have. Yes, I have. I've got.
Yeah,
7
you
better.
have. Because we haven't spoken about
the stream. End the stream.
Fuck's sake. Fuck me.
Okay. Highline points of why Empire is a bad movie. Slow. What happens? As somebody who
a fucking lot. It starts off with them basically escaping Darth Vader by like 2 seconds.
No.
So,
Slow. You said
I thought this.
no. Well, you said you said you're gonna give me the time. Slow. Slow.
Right.
Complete.
To be fair, you asked me a question. That's why I jumped.
Okay. Fair.
Anyway, go on. So it's slow apparently.
Unnecessary scenes. Don't need to see him in the Wampa cave. What's the point? Don't need to see him like half dying and then getting inside a Tauntaun.
Wait.
Don't need to. Why do you need to see that? What has that added to the? No.
Hold on.
What has that added to the movie?
Hold on. Whoa. So the Tauntaun, no, we don't really need it. But I think in the cave, the Wampa cave, I think that's really important because it's Luke. He's obviously got his lightsaber there, and he's used to having a gun. Can't reach any of it, and he's like reaching out with the Force, and it's like a really symbolic moment of him letting go, and suddenly it starts wiggling, and you're like, holy fuck, he's going to use the Force, he's going to get this lightsaber, because we hadn't actually seen loads of the Force in A New Hope. We'd seen like the Jedi mind trick. We hadn't really seen a lot of like, oh my god, he can like grab something from across the room. Like, how cool would that be to grab your remote control from across the room? Like when you sat down on the sofa, and he gets his lightsaber, chops the Wampa the fucking arm off, and runs out. And I just think that's a great moment in the entire saga. I think you're talking absolute garbage.
No. Okay, we're gonna have to agree to disagree on that bit. Shows Han's undying friendship. I don't know, man. But this is again my point. Han was never supposed to be that. Han was supposed to be a scoundrel, out for himself, not a hero, looking out for his best interests. It's completely out of character for him to go and do that. Completely out of character for him to go and do that.
I don't know. Maybe he's actually made friends. Like, he obviously has a soft spot for Luke, and he sees Obi-Wan die and thinks like he's like a bit of a big brother to Luke, isn't he?
Then the other thing, like the leading past that, it's then just like a, all right, laters guys, I'm going to the Dagobah system. Off I go. Becomes a Jedi in 10 minutes, and then disappears off to and then
it's actually a month. I dispute that, and he is obviously a really strong like Force user. So I get the whole thing of like, yeah, he takes like hardly any time to become a Jedi, but he doesn't actually become a Jedi. He's like basically a Padawan.
I am also just gonna say that was supposed to be we were supposed to see. And this is something that I only found out in the past week or so in the build up to this. We're supposed to see Yoda use Luke's lightsaber at this point in the movie. There's deleted scenes out there that nobody's seen. That Yoda was supposed to use Luke's lightsaber while he was teaching him and training him. I get that he leaves before his training's finished. I get that. It's fine. But he then goes and fights. And this is what I mean, right? Watching Empire at the time that Empire was released, fine. But you have to look at it now. You have to look at it as part of the saga. Vader would have absolutely battered him. It'd be gone. Absolutely gone. So, all a bit weird. Then Lando's like, gonna sell you out to the Empire. And then it's like, nah, I had a change of heart. Don't worry about it. I'll sort you out.
Yeah, but he's trying to be a good politician, isn't he? He's trying to help his people. So,
okay, and I'm gonna call BS on that, because what politician do you know who's ever been in power who's actually wanted to help their people? Boom, satire on this podcast. Satire on this podcast.
We have got a beautiful new blue passport.
Blue. But that happens. So not great on that.
Yeah. I still don't think this is. I've not had an actual valid good reason why Empire is poor.
Wasted opportunity at Boba Fett, because he could have.
Maybe they didn't know how much of a cult icon he might be, though.
And then, the whole Luke should have got battered. I get that he's trying to recruit him, Dave, and it's a valid point. I'm fine. He's holding back a little bit because he's trying to recruit him. I get that. But at the end of the day,
because he thinks he's actually done his job within like a minute of fighting him. He's like, he says the line, and he's like, "Perhaps you're not as strong as the Empire has foreseen."
But then
and then Luke obviously jumps out of carbonite.
The other piece is the whole reveal, which is what made that movie so iconic, right? It gets ripped in Pitch Perfect because they're like, Vader in German literally means father. Okay, let's park that one. But you've got the whole piece of, we already know he's Anakin. We already know he's his dad. Maybe they're not gonna reveal it to, like, he's not gonna reveal it to him, but it reveals it, and then it completely destroys the rewatchability for me.
Hold on. We don't know that he's Anakin.
Yes, we do.
How do we know that he's Anakin when he's talking to the Emperor?
We know that Vader's Anakin because you've seen 3.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, well, it depends which order you watch it in.
Yeah, but in the chronological build up to it, we know it, and on rewatchability, we know it. So the iconic piece of that movie just gets completely stripped away.
You're taking it out of context though, because you've got to see it as 4 was made, then 5, like the order they're made. I think Empire is an absolute classic of a Star Wars film, and it's my second on the list.
Yeah, and Slim, I'm good with that as a comment. So again, for those,
can I just say, I can't see anyone on the chat now. Everything's just loading. I could see your screen till like 2 minutes ago, Matt.
You can't see my screen anymore.
I can't see any of the chat, and I feel like I'm missing out on some gold comments from everybody. And I'm hoping people are going to be backing me up in the chat as well, and you're just not ignoring them.
I'm not ignoring them. So a couple of comments to point out here. It says, Slim said it shows when we were talking about him going out on Hoth, It shows Han's undying friendship for his friend because he's willing to huddle in a stinking
Exactly.
water.
You could become friends with somebody and then want
Right,
to
okay.
move
And then
heaven and earth to save them.
and then Big Skinny Slim has said, I want to point out that some of the things you're touching on with Empire are some of the same things that make Attack of the Clones rough. Empire is another one with more story that needed telling than they could fit into the movies.
It sets up Return of the Jedi brilliantly, like Attack of the Clones sets up Revenge of the Sith.
So fine, but for me, if you've got a movie that's filler, expect it to get slated. It's not going to be a good movie if it's just build up and filler, because you get the payoff in 6. So 6 is then a good movie because you get the payoff.
No, I'm sorry, I just can't get on board with.
We've then got Big Bros of 13, who I'm going to hazard a guess is my oldest brother. My favourite is when that one does that sign with 4 fingers, and that funny wrinkled head chap tells the captain that he is his father. And then Davey H is saying, "We're all backing you," meaning you, down with tats. So I might at this rate I might get kicked off my own channel. And
the people have spoken.
Big Skinny Slim said, and now we're into the secret cyclical structure of the trilogy of trilogies, which is the whole. And all I'm gonna say, Slim, is at least I've been consistent because I've put the middle movie of all 3 trilogies at the bottom, in the bottom of the list. I've put Last Jedi, I've put Attack of the Clones, and I put Empire.
Yeah, and you're consistently wrong except for Last Jedi.
And Davey H has redeemed, change the colour light to red because I'm clearly a Sith with these opinions. So we'll get the light changed over for you, Dave. Okay, so that's my opinion, mate. You obviously disagree. You've said
yeah. Well, I had yeah. I think we just need to move on from that because that is absolutely shocking. So I had Rogue One on my list next.
Okay.
I had Rogue One at number 7.
At number 7?
Yeah.
I also had Rogue One at number 7. One that we can agree on. Another one we can agree on.
Good. I feel like Rogue One is a really good standalone film, and I think Rogue One could actually be in the top 3 just for that fucking Vader scene, because it is absolutely class.
So, and I'll come on to this when we talk about watch order.
Yeah, so I think that's fucking class. The last scene of Rogue One, and I remember going to the cinema with my wife and my sister and brother-in-law, and none of them are like Star Wars fans, haven't seen all the movies, but they've seen like basically probably the prequels 1, 2, and 3. But they just enjoyed Rogue One as a standalone movie, and I think that was really well made that way, that you didn't have to have watched all the Star Wars films to get it. I think if you'd watched all the Star Wars films, there was obviously subtle little things that you would get and understand. But I have to say the storyline was quite good. I think that the whole thing with Boffin spies, they're not really Boffins. Like I don't really get that.
So Rogue One to me, just touching back on what you said about it's kind of being, again, I guess like Solo, right? It was designed as like you can be a Star Wars fan or not be a Star Wars fan. It still kind of makes sense.
Yeah, we want to make money, and it's a good movie to do it.
Yeah. So Rogue One was pitched at and all the reviews. Again, it's one I didn't go to cinema and watch. I ordered the DVD when it came out and sat and watched it. In all of the reviews, it was pitched as, it's not a Star Wars movie, it's a war movie set in the Star Wars universe, and it's a traditional war movie. You've not got Jedi, you've not got any of that kind of stuff. It is about like a typical war movie, and actually,
it's quite refreshing though.
Well, if you think about it, you see, if you actually, a lot of the Star Wars movies, I don't think you could put somewhere else, and they would make sense. But if you take the story of Rogue One as is, change some of the details around, like instead of blasters they've got normal guns, or they've got bow and arrows, or whatever, and you literally lift the kind of the main themes and the main plot points and put it somewhere else, it still makes sense, right? Like their thing was they needed to steal these plans. Could have been plans to anything, any kind of like superstructure. Take it back. I watched it. I hated it. I thought, why am I watching a movie that I know everyone dies at the end of it? Because they don't appear anywhere else. We already know that Leia's told us. Sorry, Mon Mothma's told us that tons of them die. So they're all gonna die. We know that they're all gonna die. But also, like, Jyn Erso, a little bit annoying. Not gonna lie. Forrest Whitaker's character, hands down, and maybe it's a point for another thing, one of the worst characters to ever get written into Star Wars. Saw Gerrera, terrible character.
Yeah, I think Saw Gerrera then gets explained, I think, a lot better in Clone Wars, because again, you see like his origin story and why he is how he is.
But still,
so I get that in the film, yeah, he's maybe not great. I think there's
then,
a lot of things that probably the Clone Wars has explained really well after these films have come out. In the later series of the Clone Wars, they've then been like, well, people don't like him, so we'll explain it a little bit better so people actually start to like them.
My main experience of watching Rogue One, and I remember it vividly because I was so disappointed, was I remember watching it and going, this is a little bit boring. And then going, oh, but there's TIE fighters, so it's Star Wars. And then going, oh, this is a little bit boring. Oh, but there's stormtroopers because it's Star Wars. And then, and that was, I don't know how long the movie runs for, like an hour 30, hour 40, maybe 2 hours. That was like my 20-minute cycle through the entire movie until the last half an hour. And the last half an hour, good movie.
Yeah, I think the final bit with like the beach, like obviously blowing up the tower and stuff, I do think that's a pretty cool ending. And obviously with the Vader in the fucking tunnel, that is like insane.
So the thing that's redeemed it, and you touched on it earlier, is the Vader scene. To me, the Vader scene brings brand new context to the opening of A New Hope.
Yeah.
Because if you watch A New Hope without the context of that scene, you're like, these guys have gone on a ship. She is actually a member of the Senate and is actually diplomatic. Why is Vader being all like, if it's a
part of the Rebel Alliance?
Yeah,
and
like what is that all about? Davey H in chat saying, wasn't a huge fan of Rogue One first time I saw it, but on rewatches it's climbed up the ranking, and I would agree with that. Same as Solo. The first time I watched it, not great. Second time I watched it, not great, not as bad as the first time I watched it, and it has redeemed itself. But for me, the big redeeming factor is that last kind of 5 minutes or so of Vader coming in, and it's just how dramatic they made it. They did it so much justice that at that time in the world, like in the universe of Star Wars, in the canonical universe, you've got a guy who is like a legend. This guy, no one knows if this guy's real or not, and he's like the stuff of nightmares. And then these guys are like, what is going on? And I told you, I'm reading, I just started my dad again, big shout out to the Don, if he's listening.
The Don Master General.
He lent me a book, I'd recommend it to anybody that's interested, called A Certain Point of View. And he... Mod check, you are a mod, Tom. You can't mod yourself, man. He lent me a book, A Certain Point of View, and it's basically like however many, I think it's like 30 or 40 short stories, each one's like 5-6 pages, and it's like little snippets of things that happen in A New Hope, but from minor characters' points of view. And one of them is from the captain of the Tantive 4. So for those of you that aren't like super nerds, the Tantive is the ship at the start. It's the blockade runner at the start of A New Hope that the Star Destroyer comes over the top, and it's the
cracking Lego set.
The ship that Leia's on, and basically, like, he says how terrifying it was. No one actually knew it was Vader. No, all the people that were there didn't know it was Vader. They're like, it's this absolute machine, and then he works out that it's Vader based on like the red glowing stick and all, like as it's described in a thing. Like,
yeah, because it's not Vader's Star Destroyer, which he's based on in number 5 and 6, is it? It's just a normal Star Destroyer. Like,
It's
a baby one.
it's thingies, isn't it? It's say it's Tarkins. It's not Tarkins. It's the guy that the guy who heads the I can't think of the character's name. The guy that heads the meeting in A New Hope when they're all sat around the table. It's his.
Oh, okay.
It's his because he gets put for the. This is the other thing that people don't know about, or a lot of people don't know about A New Hope is that everyone thinks that because Vader was like Palpatine's right hand, um, he actually didn't sit that high at that point in the hierarchy. So he actually got sent to like essentially
Yeah, he was like Tarkin's bitch.
yeah, like sit under this guy and do what this guy told him to do. Um, so yeah, that's where I think we're both in agreement on Rogue One. Um,
Yeah, that's our number 7. So we're now
yes,
going
into the top
into
half of the
top
list.
6. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what have you got at number 6?
Um, I'm scared to say it because I feel like I've lost chat already, and I feel like I'm about to lose it even more. I put Force
Don't you
Awakens.
dare.
I put Force Awakens at number
Okay.
6.
Okay. I am cool with that. I've got Force Awakens at number 5. But yeah, okay, I can understand. I feel Force Awakens, I think what was really good and also really bad about it was that it was basically just a remake, up to date version of A New Hope. Like, it was just the same kind of storyline, just with different heroines in it. Like, and
Well, you swapped Luke for Ray, right?
yeah, exactly. Like the person who didn't really know, like their parents didn't know what they were doing in life. Like,
Backwater desert planet.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
bit of a nobody. Like
Yeah, and then you've got the hotshot guy who like is really cool and goes on missions and
Poe.
things, which Poe and Han.
Yeah,
Um, and
you
you've
got
got obviously BB-8, R2D2. Like BB-8 is just a shit R2D2. Like let's face
but
it.
also BB-8 becomes like a R2D2 slash Chewbacca replacement because
Yeah, yeah,
he's like
yeah.
the sidekick of the hotshot
He was
like
there
guy.
to sell toys, and I'm the mug who fuels Disney because I go out and buy the BB-8 fucking thing that rolls around on your floor. Like
Sphero or whatever
I
it's
am, yeah,
called.
I am the problem. I'm the consumer who fucking laps that shit up, yet moans about it. Like, oh, the only reason Disney put these characters in, like fucking porgs.
So
Like, like,
while we're talking about BB-8,
fuck's sake.
while we're talking about BB-8, just as a little side note, so Dave's put agree, good movie, but it's basically just A New Hope with better graphics, which is what we're saying.
Yeah, yeah,
Dave's put nerf BB-8, and so this one, for those of you that aren't aware, Dave and I played Battlefront 2 Friday night. I think it was. We were playing Battlefront 2, the new one, the Dice one, EA Dice one, and I told him that they've made BB-8 one of the most overpowered heroes on that game.
yeah.
It is ridiculous.
It's a
He is
joke.
ridiculous to kill. He's stupidly quick, and they've given him like lethal abilities that no droid can have.
He's basically the Emperor, but a droid because he
Yep.
can just shoot fucking lightning out. Yeah,
But
no, I don't like it at all.
no, like
I think that the thing that I found with Force Awakens is until halfway point in the movie, I actually thought that Finn was the Force user, and I don't know whether they did that on purpose or whether I was just a silly twat watching it.
no. So I
I
think
felt like I almost felt like Finn was the main character,
so.
and that almost like Rey was going to be his like supporting act, almost like a female Han that isn't
So
Force user but is like good at technical stuff
so
and all that.
I don't think you're to blame for that. I think that is was Disney's ploy because in a lot of the build
In a lot of the
up.
posters, it's him with the
Yeah,
lightsaber.
so in the
It's him posed
posters, in
sideways
the
with the lightsaber, like doing all these
in the
moves.
trailer, it's the same. I think
Yeah,
the lightsaber combat that you see in the trailer, I don't think you ever see her use it. I think it's all him fighting Kylo Ren
yeah, it is at the end,
On
isn't it?
Starkiller Base. I think
Yeah,
that's all you see. Happy to be corrected in chat if people think
yeah.
that that's wrong.
Also, just while you've said Starkiller Base, that's reminded me as well. I hate the fact in Force Awakens that when Starkiller Base, when fucking Bill Weasley is at Starkiller Base and is like, let's use this planet weapon, and they shoot, they basically destroy Coruscant, Naboo,
Yeah,
like all the prequel fucking planets, and we're just expected to be like, oh, okay, fine, like whatever. But that's basically just destroyed the prequels. Like all the good characters that Disney could have had, and gone back to in the universe, and they're like, so and so died on Naboo, died on Coruscant, died somewhere else. Like, I don't know, it feels like a bit of a piss take, I think.
It was just also like, and again, going back to that kind of carbon copy of A New Hope, it's like, oh, we've got this massive super weapon that can only be destroyed by this one small single weak point that is a planet destroyer. Like, and that kind of, that's why it doesn't sit higher on the
It
list.
was, yeah, definitely A New Hope on steroids. It really was.
Yeah, and I completely agree. I also didn't enjoy. I get the Han Solo getting killed piece. Fine.
Yeah,
Spoiler
well, that
alert.
was Harrison Ford, wasn't it? He didn't really want to
S-
be brought back. He thought he should have died at the end of episode 5.
yeah.
Would that have made Empire any better for you if Han had died? Probably
No,
not,
no,
because you're a fucking mug.
no. Spoiler alert for anyone in chat that hasn't seen it. But if you haven't seen it, I don't know why you're in this podcast. So hey, but no, like it was just a bit strange. I thought, and I understood the need for the scene because it sowed the seed, and goes back to what I said about the whole JJ filming, like directing and being
Yeah.
involved in
Yeah.
7 and 9.
Future
It's
direction.
yeah, it sowed that seed of he maybe can be redeemed because there's a second, right? There's like a second of redemption, and then they mirror it in Rise of Skywalker as well with the whole he says I know what I have to do, but I don't know if I'm strong enough when Han comes back as a ghost and stuff. And so I get it. It just felt wrong. It just doesn't feel right.
I agree. I felt that what also felt wrong is that Leia and Han basically were like estranged from one another. I found that really
Which was like
a
put
hard concept to swallow.
which was like put down to Ben turning to the dark side,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that
yeah.
kind of broke them up. But yeah, no, that bit strange, and also this whole kind of he was a bit washed up. That was the whole point. Like, Finn's like Han Solo, the famous smuggler, and then she's like, oh, Han Solo, the famous rebellion general, and he's like just a bit washed up.
He's got huge
He's gone,
fucking octopuses on his
yeah,
fucking
gone
on his ship.
yeah, gone back to smuggling. He's smuggling Raftars, which is like everyone's like you're absolutely insane. So we're just a bit, yeah, it's a bit weird. It didn't sit quite right with me. That's why it's not higher on the list. Because actually, for me, it should have been like again. It was I enjoyed 1, 2, and 3. Two not as much, but I enjoyed 1, 2, 3, and they were released in our lifetime.
Yeah.
This for me was like setting it up for the next generation. Great, because I'm actually an adult now, so I can take myself to the cinema. I can go and do it if I want to buy all of these things and fund Disney's like attempt at trying to draw everybody in. Cool, I can do it because I earn my own money and great. Like gives me the opportunity to do all of the things I couldn't do when I was 14 and Phantom Menace came. Sorry, like Clone Wars came out, and when I was like 12 or so, and Phantom Menace came out, and it just didn't do that for me at
Mm.
all, at all.
No,
And
I agree. I think
maybe
it was never going to live up to. I think sometimes you have so much expectation on things coming out that it can just never meet it. Like no matter what they'd have done, because I felt like when I heard they were going to be doing a 7, 8, and 9, I was like, okay, they need to do the Timothy Zahn books, the
Heir to the Empire, Heir to the Empire.
I was like, if they did book, because those one of the first Star Wars books that I read actually, those were the first to come out, weren't they? The actual
Yeah,
books.
yeah.
Um, and I thought if they do films of them, this is going to be fucking insane. This is like,
With Thrawn and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah,
yeah, Thrawn, you've got Mara Jade in there as well,
yeah.
like who, spoiler alert again, goes on to marry Luke, but is actually a bad guy. Luke,
Turns her.
she has to fight, yeah, like Luke's clone.
Yeah,
Luke is
he
cloned
turns
from
her.
his hand that he loses in number 5, like, and he turns her back to the light, and they end up getting married and having a kid. And all of that is like thrown away. So I feel like if I hadn't have read the Star Wars, I probably wouldn't have been as disappointed with 7, 8, and 9.
And I
But
think
the fact that I'm like, yeah, I think 4, 5, and 6, you saw the main characters and you kind of envisioned how they were going to be later in life. And I think how every Star
didn't
Wars
match
fan
it.
envisioned them, it did not match it one
No,
bit. Like
and I would
Luke
agree.
basically being a whiny adult, like, and not wanting to go help out was really weird. Han being a recluse and being estranged from Leia was really weird.
And I would
Leia, to be fair, kind of held it together. Like she was similar, I can imagine, to how she was in the
I would
original one. She just didn't have as much sass.
I agree with you, and I think kind of dropping some more books in that kind of maybe influenced my thoughts on it. If you look at Legacy of the Force, which were the ones, again, for those that aren't familiar, they're the books that, great read, not canon anymore, so if you don't want to waste your time, cool, completely understand, but great books that basically talked about Luke and Leia's two kids, who they had, I'm going to say Jason, some people say Jaqen, and Jaina, and Luke and Mara Jade's kid, Ben. I'm sure it's Ben.
So Jason and Jaina, Jason and Jaina are twins, and they have a younger kid called Anakin.
Anakin, yeah, and then Luke and Mara Jade have Ben. And basically, the whole premise of those books, again, spoiler alert, Jason turns to the dark side. He meets this like Sith Empress lady who's like out far in the far outer rim, who's kind of just been living below the radar. Meets her, and she turns him, and he becomes a Sith. But pulls a Palpatine and basically flies under the radar in the midst of everybody for a long time. Actually ends up killing Mara Jade, Luke's wife, and it all goes a bit crazy. And there's a lot of mirrors between that and the final trilogy with with Ben, as in Kylo Ren, turning and all that kind of stuff.
I feel like they didn't want to give the credit to the authors. I feel like they were maybe cheating if they just took a ready-made idea that actually everybody would have been like, this is fucking cool.
And I think that's the problem. And that's where I agree with you on the whole, like, Thrawn would have made a great trilogy of movies.
It would have been a great villain for that trilogy.
Even condensed into two movies and then having a third about something, and doing something different. I completely agree. I think
I'm glad you're finally talking sense again.
Let's shift on from that one. What did you have?
So I had that at number 5. Number 6, I had number 9.
Okay.
So I had Rise of Skywalker at number 9.
Okay.
I could have had it higher, but I actually felt the rest of the movies. I put Force Awakens one spot higher because Force Awakens I gave it the benefit of the doubt that it was like a throwback to A New Hope, and J.J. Abrams, I think, did a really good job on that. I think number 9, number 9 was good. I don't think there's really a lot that I can say about number 9.
Couple things
it was good. It was the prequel. It was the sequel trilogy, so it's not good. Like
couple things I liked about 9.
It should have had. I think there should have been more of a connection. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no, go on.
I think I wish they'd have done something with Anakin, Hayden Christensen, like coming back as a Force ghost and saying something and having like a chat with either Luke in like maybe Last Jedi or having a chat with Rey in Episode 9. And I think the whole thing right at the end of the film where that fucking old woman's walking past Luke's old place in Tatooine is like, who are you? And she's like, I'm Rey. Rey who? And there's like
Rey Skywalker.
Dramatic pause. And if I was the old woman, I'd be like, she's not going to fucking answer me, so I'll just keep walking. Like, she's like Rey Skywalker, and I'm like, oh.
I didn't understand the burying of the lightsabers. Did not get that.
Yeah, I didn't
understand her taking the name, but I think that was more of a Star Wars getting political and satirical and kind of being like, you choose your family. Your family's not necessarily where you were born, etc.
They should have hinted a bit more as to, and I get that's the last film in the saga, so they had to end it. But I feel like they should have hinted more about what Rey's future held. Like, was she going to do a Luke and try and like form a Jedi Order, but have it as like almost grey Jedi? Was she just going to be alone, like a lone wolf? Like, as this grey Jedi, she built this lightsaber, which was like yellow.
It's the first now canon appearance of a yellow / orange lightsaber, because we saw it first where Plo Koon had one in Jedi Power battles, for PlayStation 1. Again, cracking game. But
Yeah, lovely game.
that got retconned. That's not canon anymore. So obviously doesn't have it anymore. I think he's got blue now, right? According to like
Yeah.
Clone Wars and stuff. So it's the first time that got brought back in, and the whole point of like a yellow lightsaber. So this goes back to the whole like it's blue because it's like a blue's like a Jedi. I'm gonna get this wrong, so this is apologies. But like blue's like Jedi Sentinel and green's like Jedi Guardian, and it's all about like where you sit on the spectrum of Jedi, Sith, light side, dark side, all that kind of stuff. And the whole point about yellow was it was like close to the middle. Like, it was part of that grey area, and a lot of them are called like grey Jedi, which is the whole Ahsoka piece, which we'll touch on another one. But yeah, for me, you cut the last 3 minutes of that movie, actually pretty decent, right? So
Yeah.
so I had it at 6, and it probably could have gone higher. A few things that I didn't like are I've seen all of the leaks for what it was supposed to be.
Well, they
Um,
basically rewrote after Last Jedi. They rewrote the whole of like Rose and Finn
yeah,
bit
yeah,
because they realised that everybody hated
hated him,
Rose as a
but
character
but
and then didn't like Finn on top of that.
there was supposed to be a scene. Now this is all speculation. No one knows if it's real from like all these leaks, but before it got taken over and like rewritten halfway through everything, because there were a whole bunch of rewrites whilst they were filming. There was supposed to be a bit where Kylo Ren went to, or the Emperor, sorry, went to swing his lightsaber at Rey, and Luke, as a Force ghost, grabbed the lightsaber to stop him from
That would have been cool.
from killing her.
Yeah.
Which sounds awesome, right? And like half the there's also bits, and there's rumors that the piece where Ben dies, it was supposed to be the other way around. And actually, Rey was supposed to die and Ben was supposed to survive, and they changed it because they thought it wouldn't get good audience reaction because they didn't want a female to die instead of a male dying, having had a female protagonist throughout the whole thing. And there were a whole bunch of rewrites that I was just like, okay, I get it, but it's just
I
all
think
a
it
bit.
was really, I think it was really cool that she turned out to be a Palpatine, like that she was Palpatine's granddaughter. But again, it wasn't explained, and you knew it wasn't going to be explained because it was the last movie in the saga.
And
So
don't get me wrong, big ticks for me. They finally gave Chewie his medal. They redeemed Chewie from the fact they didn't get his medal at the end of A New Hope. Big up
big
my
up my
man.
man Chewie.
Big up my man Chewie. But like there were, and this is my issue. This is why it sits like middle of the list for me. Is because there were some things that for me as a diehard Star Wars fan, like a lot of people don't notice that, right? At the end of A New Hope, a lot of people are just like, okay, it happened. For me, awesome, great. Okay, there wasn't really enough like back explaining about the whole cloning process.
Yeah.
Was Snoke a slightly failed
Yeah, failed version of
clone
Palpatine.
of Palpatine? Like, that's never really fully explained, but then it's explained in the book that they released, which to me was like, well, is that because they went, oh, we probably should have explained that, but we didn't put it in the book, or is
Yeah.
that because they've gone, people are complaining we didn't explain that, let's explain it. Oh,
Also, I
thanks
just
for the
find it
follow, Big
really
Brosif.
strange. There's this Sith world, like Sith Lord world, which is never mentioned anywhere else. And surely Palpatine would like visit it. It sounds like it's far out into the Outer Rim. Surely Palpatine and Dooku, Ventress, Vader, like Maul, all the Sith Lords would have. That's where their base would have been. But it's like Palpatine would have been like when he was a senator. Oh, I've got to go on a diplomatic mission for a couple of weeks, and just fucks off to Exegol. Like,
Here you go. So just going back to that the lightsaber color. Slim in the chat, thanks Slim for correcting and confirming kind of some bits and pieces I said. So blue is for Jedi Consular, which is more of a diplomat police officer role. Green is Sentinel, someone who largely works alone and known for exploring eccentric and uncommon Force knowledge. So that's your whole Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon,
yeah, Obi-Wan
and
Qui-Gon.
and then,
Qui-Gon, actually, I didn't say about Phantom Menace. He has the potential to be one of the best characters.
yeah, and Qui-Gon was like the driving force behind somebody who isn't your typical Jedi. Your person who always believes in the Council's right.
He turned down the council, didn't he? Yeah, he was like a rogue
took
Jedi
took
almost to an extent.
took Obi-Wan as his apprentice, who I believe was his second apprentice. I don't know if any of
Yeah,
this
it
is
was
canon
his first.
anymore,
Yeah,
but
no, it's not canon
his
anymore. The
first
Jedi
turn
Apprentice books are really
his
great.
first turn to the dark side, and then he took
Yeah,
Obi-Wan,
Xanatos was a
and
Dark Jedi.
he took Obi-Wan at an age older than he should have taken an apprentice
Yeah,
and all that
Obi-Wan
kind of
got
stuff.
sent away from the Jedi Temple because Qui-Gon didn't want to take him as his apprentice initially, because Qui-Gon didn't want someone else fallen. He wasn't really a Sith, he was just a Dark Jedi. Um, his Padawan Xanatos, and he didn't take Obi-Wan because he thought he'd be the same. So Obi-Wan goes to become a farmer on
Yeah.
some outer
Which
rim
is which
world.
is which is what happens to anybody that doesn't get picked up as an apprentice from the Jedi, or what used to happen anyway before
Yeah.
Legends got retconned.
And then Obi-Wan, there's something happens on this planet, and Qui-Gon is randomly sent to the planet, and it's like the Force is bringing them together. Um, but yeah, Qui-Gon has the potential. He's such a great character that isn't really explored too much, and probably isn't going to be. Let's
No,
face
so
it.
he makes a brief cameo in Clone Wars, and that's about it. So let me wrap that back round. So blue is Consular, green is Sentinel, uh, red is Sith, obviously, and I'm just gonna touch on it here because if not, I'm gonna get on a rant. Sith is red because when they turn to the dark side, it corrupts the crystal and it turns the crystal red. Worst writing ever because that's not what it used to be. We'll touch on that in a future podcast. Yellow is said to be wielded by only by those who have decided to find their own way in the Force. They largely do what they feel is right, regardless of how they use the Force to achieve that. And there are a few other obscure options. So basically, it kind of does go on the Rey because she's had no proper like Jedi training as was the Jedi, like way and all that kind of stuff. So thanks Slim for confirming that. Davey H says somehow Palpatine returned. What do you mean you want more explanation? Exactly, and I think that's the point, right? So
Post there, like somehow Palpatine returned, and everyone's like,
so cool. So you had that. I had that at 6. You had that at 5. What did you have at 6?
hold on, no, I had number 9 at 6.
Which we talked about, right?
Yeah, and then I had Force Awakens number 7 at 5.
You had okay, and we've covered that. Cool.
Yeah,
I had Phantom Menace at 5.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah, and the only reason, and I'm gonna skim over it because we've been chatting for a while, and we touched on it earlier. We discussed it in depth earlier. The only reason is, and it's because of what I talked about earlier. It's the first one that was released within my lifetime, and so I look back on it pretty positively. There's a few things I'd change, which is why it doesn't make like top of the list. But yeah, not the best.
Cool. Okay, well, what have you got at number 4 then?
At 4, I've got Return of the Jedi at 4.
Oh, have you? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like there can't really be any argument with like your top 4. Um, I mean, you're going to have a really weird one compared to me because I've got Empire as my number 2, and you had that like down at 8. So my number 4 is A New Hope, and I don't really feel like there needs to be like any explanation on that.
No, so
Um,
I put A New Hope at 2.
okay,
So I'm with you.
So that's where we
it's,
are. So I had
it's in
Empire at 2, and
it's
you've
in
got A New Hope at 2.
it's in the top of the list. We've talked about it. The only things that I'm gonna kind of touch on for A New Hope sitting at 2, and I assume it's gonna be pretty similar for you sitting at 4. So shout if I'm wrong, but the OG. So it demands some respect, and it's got to sit up towards the top.
Yeah, it's the first scene with the Tantive coming in. This what you think is a pretty decent sized ship, and you see the lasers, and then this big fuck off Star Destroyer.
If you
just
look at it,
comes
if you
all
look
the
at it,
way in screen.
if you look at it as a movie, right? Couple things as like from a movie maker thing. It brought back the screen wipe as a technique and a tool. Everyone loved the screen wipe. The effects. You've got to look at this movie and go 77. If you look at other like sci-fi movies that were being made in 77, nothing touches it.
I think it's
Nothing
great that
touches
they
it.
made like the Death Star run. They actually made a full size like version that was just like a model, based like a
Yeah.
model village.
And
and
that's
they
what
just
that's what a whole bunch of the special effects are. A whole bunch of
yeah.
the space battles and
I
stuff.
feel like though I am going to challenge you on this. That, and I get that A New Hope's good, but to play devil's advocate, you said number five was really slow. I think the slowest Star Wars film is A New Hope, and I get why it's fairly slow, but it is really slow. And you said you hated that about number five
Yeah,
and number two.
but this is the thing. So it is slow, and I'll give you that. But it has to be slow to introduce everybody. And I know you're then going to say, "Oh, but then five has to be slow to like ramp up into six." But
Set it up for a
if you've already had a slow movie, why do you then want to watch another slow movie that just builds on the character development? You don't. You want that payoff. And my thing for four is introduces your main characters. I think Obi-Wan went too early, but
yeah.
he then got the retribution in one, two,
You
three.
yeah, and you know why he
Yeah.
goes early. Like
So
yeah,
it's fine. The one thing that I would change about A New Hope is there's a fan film, can't think what it's called. So again, I'm sure somebody in chat will probably tell me.
hopefully you're about to say what I'm thinking.
But there's a YouTube video that's been released where they've redone the fight between
Yeah,
Vader
fucking
and Obi-Wan,
awesome. Yeah,
and it was
yeah.
limited, right? Because at the time they though
They
that
had to hold them
first
with two
bit,
hands.
it
The
was
props, it was so heavy.
it was a metal tube that had all the decoration on the outside. It was a whole bunch of random parts of things, and then what they basically had was this like reflective lighting tape that reflected and refracted light that they added the special effects to, but to give you that bright white light beam. And it was basically that, and they put it on like a motor that spun it round so it kept catching the light. And so these things were super fragile, which is why all they could do was this, and they were super heavy, which is why it was two-handed. And that's why you see, as the technology got better, you see more stuff going on and more kind of in-depth and more acrobatic and much more intense fight scenes. They reckon that in the Phantom Menace, Ewan McGregor went through like 12 lightsabers because what they did was they had metal poles that went into the hills, and then they obviously CG'd all of the actual blades and everything. And he went through like 12 lightsaber blades because they were just absolutely going at each other with these things with like ridiculous intensity, and he bent half of them. And so that's
He
why.
also they had to tell him to shut up because he kept making lightsaber noises,
But like so
which I just think is awesome.
it is for me. It's A New Hope sits there. It's OG. It's the one that got me hooked on Star Wars from such a young age, and it's the one that I watched over and over and over again. So
Yeah, I get it.
you can't
I get
really.
it. Well, I've got. So I had A New Hope at four. I
Yeah,
then had. So you had Return of the Jedi at four.
yeah.
I had Return of the Jedi at three. I toyed with putting it at two, and I've always said that Return of the Jedi was my second favorite film. And I think it's really great because to me it tied the series together. It was like the loose ends. Um, but I've got the at number three. You know that I've got Empire at two, so you've got A New Hope at two. What's your number three?
Rise of Skywalker,
Oh, okay. I see.
which
Big.
we talked
Yeah,
about,
we've talked
and
about.
I've
And
said
then
why.
we can. I'm really actually surprised at this. That I assume because it's the only one I've got left to talk about, and I think it's the only one you've got left to talk about. That number one is obviously
Revenge of the Sith,
Revenge of the Sith,
hundred
which
percent.
is the best Star Wars film. It's got fucking everything. It's got a great storyline. Yes, there's holes in it. All know that, but it's got the best storyline. It ties it all together. You see Anakin and Obi-Wan fight, which is pretty fucking cool. At the same time, you've got Yoda and Sidious fighting. It just ties everything together, and you walk out and you're like, you know what, George Lucas for all his faults, he's fucking had me there.
Yeah.
He's done me.
So
Like
Revenge of the
he's
Sith.
played a blind.
Revenge of the Sith. I remember going opening night
Yeah,
to the cinema with my dad, and I think both my brothers came as well. And we went and we watched Revenge of the Sith at Hollywood Cinema on Yarmouth Seafront, and I
yeah, you know,
will never ever forget that night. Absolutely incredible.
yeah, me too.
And I agree with you. It's got action.
Yeah,
It's got the payoff of the first two movies.
yeah,
If you've seen 4, 5, 6, and we'll come on to viewing order in a second, it's your perfect tie-in between 2 and 4.
yeah,
It's emotional because you've got the death of Padme, you've got the birth of the twins, you've got essentially master and apprentice going at it, and the only other kind of reference to Master and Apprentice going at it are the Sith betraying each other, which the Sith, you go, oh, boo, the Sith, they're baddies anyway, they've got no morals, no ethics, all of that kind of stuff. The only thing I would say is that you see Anakin, other than in Attack of the Clones, when you see him slaughter the Sand People, which kind of hints at it, you see his turn very quickly. Like, it happens pretty quickly.
I think that one of the things with Revenge of the Sith, that the only thing I was really disappointed with was that how Padme dies is fucking awful.
Yeah,
Like,
of course.
She's lost the will to live. I mean, fuck me, come on. You got like droids that can't just keep her alive. We've got like, it's so advanced. Probably medicine is so advanced they can't just inject her with something to keep her alive. And I think that's really weird. But I actually think it's a really fast-paced film because obviously there's so much to get in. I think that General Grievous is a really good baddie.
Yeah.
I think he's somebody who you just can't help but hate. I think some villains are good because you kind of see a little bit of good in them. General Grievous is somebody you can just really hate. Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan looks on point. Like, the mullet has gone, but he still looks sexy, which is just always a bonus.
The thing that I love is that, and this is one of the things that I think. And 2 seconds, Tom, I'm going to address it now, mate, because you keep spamming Caravan of Courage in the chat. So for those of you that aren't aware, Caravan of Courage was like a mad spin-off. I'm sure it was like 1984. I'm sure it was the year after Return of the Jedi was released, and it's a mad Ewok spin-off, right? And Tom, I've never seen it, okay? But I'm going to pledge to you now, if it is on Disney Plus or I can find another way to watch it before next month's podcast, I will watch it and we will do a brief discussion. I'll share how to watch it with Brian, and we will discuss Caravan of Courage in the next podcast if we can find somewhere to watch it. As long as you're here to listen, we'll watch it. We'll discuss it. Not a problem.
Give the people what they want.
Exactly. No, my thing, and I think a lot of people glaze over this, is with the prequel trilogy in general, and this is, again, I think you're going to see here that I've put Return of the Jedi, Rise of Skywalker, and Revenge of the Sith. So this has basically been my story of my list. All the middle ones have been towards the bottom, all the end ones have been towards the top. But what I'm going to say is that over the course of that prequel trilogy, it's the whole payoff, which you get, which is why it's going to be good. But also, like, people don't notice that. So Vader is foreshadowed in 1, 2, 3 because Maul's like the apprentice, the angry apprentice, nothing but anger, which is the whole like sand people thing. You've got Dooku, the fallen Jedi. And then you've got Grievous, the cyborg, and basically you wrap those three together, and that is Vader, and that's what that payoff was. I find that the final scene where he actually becomes Vader a little bit weird.
What, when the suit gets put on him?
When he like flips up on the table and he's like, like, where is Padme, or tell me about And then Palpatine's like, oh, in your rage you killed her or whatever, and then he just screams no, and that's all a bit weird. I like this. I like the fact that you've got Tarkin like looking out over the half built Death Star, and then they have at the very very end they've got what has now actually amongst like filmmakers been called the Harry Potter scene. And that is the older wizard, Obi-Wan, delivering the young chosen one to a distant relative, and then with the classical music and all of that kind of stuff. And I think it's a really good ending because it leads into it. The only thing that
it was like an ending of a saga, but also you knew that it was actually something else. Exactly.
Which I think is why. So when they were released, right? When they actually came out, 4 was obviously released as a standalone movie, then got renamed to Episode 4. and they did it right. So 6 ended it because no one thought that there was any more, because they knew that this was 4, 5, 6. So 1, 2, 3 must be coming, but they thought that was it, done, dusted. So the ending's actually sound. The ending's fine. It wraps everything up nice and it's all good.
Yeah, you're quite content with how it finishes.
Then you get 1, 2, 3, and 3 wraps most things up, but leaves a little bit leading you into 4, 5, 6. And I think that this is the problem that people had with the ending of 9, is they repeated the formula of 3 with 9 without anything to say, yes, there's going to be a 10 or an 11 or there's going to be anything after.
I think what episode 3 is really great because you knew what was going to happen. You knew that Anakin falls to the dark side. You know that Chancellor Palpatine becomes the Emperor, and you already know that he's the head of the Separatists and the head of the Republic. You know that the Jedi get wiped out. You know all of what's going to happen, but it's just interesting to see how exactly it happens. And you're like, man, this is so fucking cool. Yet, if in theory, if you said to somebody, I'm going to watch a film, but I know exactly what's going to happen, you'd be like, why the fuck are you going to watch it? Like, you know exactly what's going to happen. But I think the beauty of it is that it just ties it off so perfectly. Like, the prequels as an entire trilogy aren't the best storyline wise, and the writing isn't the best. But actually, Revenge of the Sith just makes up for it.
Yeah,
and
100%.
It's just the best film because it just makes up for all the bad points. Like, the fighting in it is insane. The Anakin and Obi-Wan fight, and the bit where they have the two Force hands together because they know each other's style in and out. And Obi-Wan's like, send me to kill the Emperor, I won't kill Anakin. And I've seen loads of memes as well, and I don't know why they didn't do this. Why didn't they both just go kill Anakin and then both go kill the Emperor? Because they probably could have actually, well, they would have beat Anakin together, and they probably could have beat Palpatine together. But I think, again, there's little things that I think is really clever, like when Mace Windu goes to arrest the Chancellor has done it so that anyone who's fought a Sith Lord in his lifetime is dead or isn't there. Qui-Gon, Maul killed him, Obi-Wan's on Utapau, Anakin isn't trusted, and Yoda is on Kashyyyk. Like, and anyone else who's been around a Sith Lord has died. So he has to take, I think, the way Kit Fisto, Plo Koon, and the other one fucking die. I think it's absolutely pathetic.
Yeah.
But the Mace Windu fight with Palpatine is insane. Like, that is right there just behind the Anakin and Obi-Wan fight. I think that's brilliant. I think the whole that's what makes Anakin turn to the dark side, I think is absolutely genius. The fact that it's Mace Windu as well, the one who like doesn't trust him. Didn't want him to become a Jedi in episode 1, like doesn't really trust him throughout the whole thing, but actually said to him, like, sit in the council chambers. If what you've said is correct, you will have gained my trust. And is like, and in the book, there's a lot more you see Mace Windu's thoughts on the way to go and to arrest the Chancellor, because it's not like he leaves the Jedi Temple and he's at the Chancellor. He's got like 15, 20 minutes to have thoughts in his head. And he's like, if this is true, then I've been so wrong about Anakin. Like, he should be on the council. Like, he deserves to be a master. Like, all the stuff that Anakin's ever wanted from the Jedi. And Mace Windu was like, you know what? I'm going to give it to that guy. He's done a real sound thing by telling me that Sidious is actually Palpatine.
And then he goes, nah, I'm going to cut your arms off.
He's too dangerous to be left alive, motherfucker.
So Slim says, the most difficult scene to watch in all of film history, if you know what's happening in the story, is Anakin waiting at the Jedi Temple while Mace Windu goes to arrest Palpatine.
Yeah, and the music. I mean, John Williams. We haven't touched on that, but
John Williams is a god.
Like,
John Williams is a god.
That soundtrack to Episode 3 is great, but especially when Anakin is in the temple, Anakin's Dark Deeds, it's called, and it is incredible. Like the music with him sitting there, Padme as well. Like, it's just great.
2 seconds just to address this. Tom, no, you haven't been left on red, mate. I addressed your Caravan of Courage comments. I was assuming you were away from your computer at the time. We have pledged here and now that if we can find a way to watch it between now and whenever the second podcast comes out, which will be next month sometime, we will watch it and we will dedicate the opening to the next podcast,
just to please you, and you better fucking tune in
to the Caravan of Courage movie if we can find a way of watching it. we've got you if we can find it. If it's on Disney Plus, we're quids in. I've got it. If not, I'll try and find another way of watching it. Not a problem. But we will discuss it. So take it back to Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, I've got nothing more to say on it. I just think it's just the best fucking film.
Slim saying there's just so much going on in that scene that the movie just can't capture, which is true, right? And that's where
Yeah, you can't see people's thoughts, can you, in films?
No.
Like that can't be portrayed really.
Um,
But I think what's going to be really exciting is that from what I've read rumors-wise, the Kenobi series, there's going to be flashbacks to Anakin at the temple, because I think that's something that I wish we could have seen a bit more of Anakin going into the temple, and I wish we'd seen more of Anakin turning to a Sith,
so
because we see him cut Mace Windu's hand off, and then we
and
basically
he's
see
gone.
him fight
He's gone.
Obi-Wan,
Yeah.
and he's Darth Vader. I wish we could have seen Anakin as
So-
that fallen Jedi,
So
and what he's saying to the Jedi in the temple.
So for those that aren't in the know, which I'm assuming if you're here and you're listening, you probably do know, but with the Kenobi series, which is now confirmed, it's going to be a Disney Plus thing. Ewan McGregor's back as Obi-Wan Kenobi. Hayden Christensen is back as Anakin. So that gives you an insight as to where it's going to sit, because it has to be before his Vader. So it kind of gives you an insight as to the sorts of things that we're going to see, and I think
there's going to be so many flashbacks to like different missions they did, and especially during the Clone Wars.
I
feel like there's going to be temple scenes.
I've always been intrigued by the throwaway line when they do the another happy landing at the start of episode 3, where it's like I owe you one or whatever. Yeah. And it's like, how many times have I saved your life? Yeah, and it's like ninth time. That business on Cape Cambodia didn't count. Yeah, like I want to know what went down. Those are the things that you want to see, right? So
yeah.
Okay, so you have heard it here first, folks. We actually agreed, which I think was only the third time we agreed on the position of any of those movies.
Yeah, Revenge. We agreed on Clone Wars being the worst.
Yeah, somewhere in the middle.
We agreed on Rogue One, I think,
being seventh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We agreed on Revenge of the Sith.
Revenge of the Sith.
I still cannot get over, and this is going to take me a while, that you had Empire at 8.
Hey mate,
you had two of the sequel films better than Empire. You had 7 and 9 better than Empire.
You've got a month to get over it.
I'm sorry, but I don't know if a month is long enough.
Deal with it. For those that are watching this on VOD, check me out on Twitter and just double check I am still alive and that he hasn't sent someone to kill me, because it might happen. Cool. Okay. So we've wrapped that nicely. That is great. This leads us on to, and we've kind of touched on it as we go, perfect viewing order.
Hold on, Matt. I've sent you a message. I feel like we need to dedicate more time to this. We should do it on a separate pod.
Okay.
Let's do it on the next one.
Okay, that's fine.
I feel like there's so much to talk about in the watch order, because I don't feel like it's conventional anymore. I've read so much on this, and yeah, I've got a funky order, and I think it works.
That's fine. Davey H says in chat, "Don't send anyone. He'll deal with it." So. Next time I see you, Dave, make sure I got a bodyguard with me. We're golden.
He doesn't like you. He doesn't even know me.
Cool. Okay, so we'll save perfect watching order and Caravan of Courage for the next one. So we got to work out where Caravan of Courage is going to fit into the watching order now.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess we'll just try and touch on a few bits and pieces. So we'll wrap it up with probably. I mean, I'm gonna say we'll chat about favorite character. Do you want to chat about changes to? Do you want to chat about changes to the saga now, or do you want to chat about that next week when we?
Do that next time.
Okay, we'll wrap it up with favorite character. So guys that are still in chat, let us know who your favorite character is. Yeah.
Read them out, because I still can't see the chat. I still can't see your screen.
That's fine. That's fine.
Who is your favourite character?
So, this one's really difficult for me. I'll be honest.
Yeah. I'm glad you're being honest.
Oh yeah. Well, hey, I'm a proper Jedi like that. My issue is I'm going to talk about this, and as you guys listen to more of the podcasts, you're gonna find out more about both of us, and kind of how some of these opinions have come about, we just thought this would be a really, really good start to everything. The whole ranking the movies is something that a lot of fans debate all the time. Favorite character, same. But for me, and this comes from watching series, reading books, reading some of the graphic novels. So I'm going to throw a couple honorable mentions out there before I actually reveal who mine is.
If you say Jar Jar, I'm going to deck you.
I might need that bodyguard sooner than... No, I'm joking. Change my answer. Think about this quickly. Before I go in, Slim is saying favourite character, hands down, Qui-Gon. We obviously touched on the fact that Qui-Gon could have been top tier. And if you've read the Jedi Apprentice books, he's a quality guy.
Fucking class. Yeah.
He makes his brief appearance. Valmos has said Harrison Ford. Love you, Valmos. Thanks for tuning in, dude. But so few honourable mentions from me. Boba Fett, absolute G unit. Love the guy.
Yeah.
Absolute hero. I touched on the fact that he doesn't even say anything, and everyone's like, "This guy's an absolute god." I'm hoping that Tamira Morrison playing him in Mandalorian, god tier, amazing. Didn't enjoy his portrayal in Attack of the Clones, but he's a Winter Child. He was supposed to be, right. That's the whole point. As he was at that age. He's also not the best in the Clone Wars series. But actually, I read Dark Disciple recently, which for anyone that hasn't read it, great. It's Quinlan Voss, who's a Jedi, Asajj Ventress trying to assassinate Dooku. Really, really great. Set during the Clone Wars. Boba Fett's in that, and actually comes across quite well in that. And actually, it solidifies the whole. He's just out for money. Doesn't really care about other stuff. Just out for money. The proper mercenary thing. So he's in there as an honourable mention. Ventress. So we haven't touched on Ventress at all. I'm not going to go massively into it because I think, again, we can touch on it when we talk about Clone Wars. But for those of you that aren't aware, she was introduced in the Clone Wars animated micro series, which was like the drawn cartoon one. Yeah. So she was introduced in that, and then that got retconned, and she got pulled into the Clone Wars series, which is the animated kind of CG series that was done by Dave Filoni. And basically, she's the apprentice of Dooku, but not an apprentice because Sidious actually knows about her, and she's kind of like Dooku's assassin. She's not trained as a Sith, but she is Force sensitive and learns some of the dark side stuff. She's a Night Sister, so she's got kind of the Star Wars equivalent of magic, and just a bit of a bad character, but she kind of redeems herself. And there's a lot of character development of her across the Clone Wars, and then also Dark Disciple, she's one of the main characters, and it's really great to see her kind of come full circle as a character. Incredible. The other one on the honourable mentions list is Ahsoka. And again, when we talk about Clone Wars, we'll talk about it more, but just seeing her go from, and I think we touched on this when we were discussing stuff during the week, that her going from whingy kid who was kind of a little bit stuck up, bit sarky, and a bit kind of like your average teenager.
Yeah, you wanted to knock out when she was saying stuff like, "Oh, come on, Sky Guy, shut the fuck up."
To fully grown, adult, matured. Actually, I would argue at that point, at the end of the Clone Wars, and then leading into Rebels, more mature than Anakin ever was. And just kind of understands that it's not about light side, dark side. There's this middle area. Badass with these weird white lightsabers, which is explained in the Ahsoka book, which again is a really, really good read. So get involved. So yeah, they're my honourable mentions. I'm just going to take a look at chat quickly. So Thomas Toe says Greedo shot first. Controversial.
I'm shot first.
Valmos said, been here the whole time. Lol, great stream. Thank you for tuning in, Valmos. Appreciate it. Davey H says Plo Koon, best guy. I think he's a decent character, to be fair.
Yeah, Clone Wars explores him a bit deeper, don't they?
I was going to say, he doesn't get tons of screen time. He's one of the council members that you don't really get to see too much of. Slim says, "Boys, I got a roll. Much love. Absolute banger of a podcast. Looking forward to the next one." Thank you, Slim.
Cheers, man.
Appreciate it, dude. We'll grab some games soon. Keep it going, and yeah, we'll definitely see you on the next one. Yeah, Plo Koon's like one of these interesting ones that kind of they explored more in the Clone Wars, and you actually see a little bit
under the radar, isn't he?
Yeah, and you see a bit of a relationship between
him
him and Ahsoka, and it's actually quite a nice thing to see. Before Slim left, he redeemed "Make Me Dab," so you're gonna have to hit us with another dab.
This one's the. Oh.
There it is, pro dabbing.
I feel like I need to hold that pose. Hold on, can I get it? Can I get it all in? Whoa, that becomes something else.
The sprinkler. It's the sprinkler. It's the sprinkler.
Yeah, it's the sprinkler, not the Nazi salute.
So we'll throw that one out there. So I'm gonna go out and say my favorite character, the entire thing, and we talked about how he got done dirty a little bit by the sequel trilogy, Maul.
Yeah, I thought you might have said Maul. Yeah.
So three.
It's weird for a guy who doesn't. I mean, obviously for Clone Wars, I get it. Like his story is great, but when you talk about the actual films, he's in 2 films for a combination of probably 15 minutes. And yet he is people's favorite character with a lot of stuff.
So all I'm gonna say is, absolute badass. The double-bladed lightsaber introduced the absolute nuts.
That is probably one of the best moments in Star Wars. I think the "I'm your father" line is great, but just the silence of Darth Maul bringing the lightsaber out, taking the cloak off, lightsaber out, 2 ends coming out, and you're like,
it's also the whole. If you read, I'm sure it's the book that was released not long after the Phantom Menace. That
Saboteur.
No, it's the
Shadowhunter.
No, oh yeah, Shadowhunter.
Shadowhunter was a book, and I think Saboteur was an ebook.
Yeah, so it touches on why when he fights Qui-Gon on Tatooine, why he only uses one blade.
It's a shorter blade as well.
Yeah. So it touches on that, and it's basically because he's arrogant, and he's like, "There's only one of them," because he's been tracking them, right? And he's like, "There's only one of them. I can deal with this without going like full out." That's cool. He's just a bit of a hero, and his character arc through Clone Wars is class. The resurrection, the trying to take down Dooku, teaming up with his brother, trying to take down Sidious, and then
I think in Rebels as well. With him and Ezra, I think that's really cool.
This is the thing, and he kind of shows that he still sits on the dark side of the Force, and he still is a dark side user, but he's actually not a Sith. He turns his back on the. Well,
he realizes that he was just used. He was just a small cog in the bigger machine,
and he
realizes that he was just used.
He was always never meant to be there for the end game.
Yeah, no. He wasn't. He was just a means to an end.
I think he's class. I'm devastated that Lucas sold Disney and we didn't get that in the sequels to see much more of him. But what we do see of him in Clone Wars and Rebels, class. Loved the cameo at the end of Solo. Helped make the movie for me. Absolutely awesome. So yeah, my favorite character, hands down.
Cool. Well, honorable mentions. So mine was a real toss-up, and Ahsoka came really close because again, I like her character development, and I'm a sucker for a good guy. Like, I'd Luke as well. Apart from 789, 789 ruins Luke for me. So I kind of look down on him and I'm like, because it's just not for me anymore. But no, I really like Mace Windu as well. I actually think that the Clone Wars books that I've read on him as well, there's one dedicated to him, and he loses his apprentice to the dark side as well, as like a fallen Jedi, someone else who's actually on the council. Like Mace Windu was on the council from the age of 13. Like, it's so powerful.
So there's the count.
Obviously, none of that is canon anymore.
There's the council, and so there's 3 different councils, right? So there's like and they all do different things.
He's not on the Grand Council at 13, like you see.
No. But
films.
But he makes it onto he's one of the. So the Grand Council, for those that don't know, is made up of 3 lifetime members, and that means that they will never get kicked off, so they have to die in order to lose their membership of the Grand Council. One of them is Yoda, who obviously is super old anyway, so kind of makes sense in regards to his experience and his wisdom and all of that kind of stuff. Mace Windu is one of those other characters, so he's got to be a pretty decent guy to be up there.
Yeah, fucking right. So I really, yeah, Mace Windu, and I think his scene with Sidious, the fucking fight, is mental as well. But my favourite character is Obi-Wan. I think the heartache the guy has gone through in his entire life, like so many reasons at each point he could have turned to the dark side and left the Jedi. His master watches him get fucking impaled by a Sith Lord, who's obviously more powerful, you'd say, and so it doesn't turn to the dark side there. He loses his childhood sweetheart, Satine, she dies, doesn't turn. He watches his entire Jedi Order crumble. His basically brother turn to the dark side, and he's the one who destroyed all the Jedi. He has to go into hiding. He lives in like this wasteland of Tatooine for 20 years. Like so many times he's just inside his own head, could be turning to the dark side, and he just doesn't. And for me, yeah, he's just what a guy. Just Obi-Wan Kenobi.
One of the things that I love about his relationship with Satine, and it just shows you how much of a like strength he has in regards to when she gets killed in front of him by Maul as like as revenge basically, and he says to her not long before that happened that if she had asked, he would have left the order for her.
Yeah.
Which is insane considering what he then goes through and doesn't turn, doesn't leave. I can't argue with you. And actually, it's great to see that. And again, for those that have seen the Clone Wars, you'll know Maul and Obi-Wan have the rivalry that gets kicked off in Episode 1 because Maul kills his master and then Obi-Wan gets the better of him. But the Clone Wars, when Maul comes back, a lot of it is about him getting revenge, and the one constant through all of that is him wanting revenge on Kenobi. Jamie's just joined the chat, said, only just got here, is this about Satine? Extremely underrated character. I would agree. She actually adds she adds a lot of character development and a lot of complexity to Kenobi as well, and the way that he looks at everything. Before I move on, Davey H said when we were chatting about the council members, saw Tats assault a quizmaster over the council structure one time. So that is a story for another night. Not quite as extreme as that, but it got close. But no, I can't argue with you, and I think it's great that I've picked Maul as my favourite.
I mean, there's so many cool characters. Like I really like Qui-Gon just from reading books where he's in them a lot. I really love him, and I think he's the first one, obviously, to be a Force ghost. He talks to Yoda. He's gone to the netherworld of the Force. Like I think he's so great. Ahsoka just for the character development, but yeah, Obi-Wan's just in like he's in a tier of his own, I would say.
And I think that that is one thing that I, as a fan. And a fan from the age of like 4, so in excess of 20 years. It's one thing that will always remain consistent with Star Wars is great characters, and there are some terrible ones. I'm not their character creation and design not perfect, right? You've got your Jar Jars, but some incredible characters.
We've forearms.
We've been chatting for 2 hours. We could chat for more, just on characters, and it is what it is. And I guess now I'm going to take the opportunity to plug and say, as I said at the very start, we're hoping that this is going to be a series of podcasts. We hope that this is going to run for a long time. So if you guys have things that you want us to talk about, I'm not, my knowledge, and I'm going to speak for Brian as well. Like, it's not the best. We're not going to know absolutely everything. And you guys, it's great doing this as a stream because it allows you guys to come in and ask questions, correct us, throw in extra information, and I think that's what we're going to continue to do. If you're watching on the VOD, either on Twitch or on YouTube, we're going to keep streaming them live on Twitch, so keep coming at us. We don't know when the next one's going to be. It'll be next month sometime, but we haven't set a date yet. We're going to try and get them consistent. As we said, we're just starting it out. Our socials keep pinging up. Just below each of our pictures, we'll both advertise it pretty heavily on socials before the next one comes up. So yeah, we'll definitely be on it. But as I said, if there's things you want us to discuss, we've already appeased Tom. We're going to talk about Caravan of Courage if we can next time round. But we'd love for you guys to get in touch and let us know what you want to hear about, or what you want to kind of come into chat and chat with us about, and you know that would be great. Jamie's saying the joy of Star Wars. There's so much stuff everyone knows something different to another. Exactly, and that is great. And I'll be honest. A lot of my knowledge is legend stuff because I grew up reading the books, and then Disney came in and retconned it all. I'm learning new stuff all the time. And it's really nice to know that a lot of you guys in chat are also massive fans that are going to come along for this ride, and we've pledged to read stuff and learn new stuff to chat about with you guys. So for us, it's great because it means that we get to learn
It's
more
exciting
and
because
explore more.
this is the shit that we have conversations about when I'm in the car, when we call each other, and we'll be like, "Hey, I read this the other day. What do you think about this?" Or like, "Oh my God, did you know that this happened?" And now we get to do it on a platform where we can, tell other people. People can tell us stuff. Like, it's just so much that we can talk about. It's an entire universe. Like, it's just great that we're going to be able to do this.
And they just keep adding, right? So there's always going to be
there's
always going to be
more.
new
So
stuff.
when the Kenobi stuff comes out, the Book of Boba Fett, we'll be right there
Yeah.
to talk about each episode. That's going to be great. It's going to be a real journey.
We might have to have more than one a month at that point. We'll
Yes.
we'll see how we get on.
Yeah.
Valmos says it's a great idea, guys, and you're both very knowledgeable. I have no clue, and you are making me want to watch more, as I haven't seen them all.
Well, that's good. If we can get one more person to watch more Star Wars, tune in next time though, and I'll tell you the perfect order to watch all 12 of them in. There is a perfect order, and I've got it.
Heard it here first, folks. Don't miss it. Jamie's saying reaction shows per episode. I'm assuming that means when we have Boba Fett, Book of Boba Fett and Kenobi.
I agree. Straight after it finishes, we'll be on.
I'm sure we can make that. Happen. But yeah, cool. Right, guys. I think we'll wrap it up. As I said, we've been chatting for 2 hours. I'm sure we could go all night. So
thanks for joining us, everyone. Really appreciate it.
It's been really great. The support has been absolutely incredible. If you guys keep an eye, as I said, on the socials, it's the Norfolk Lion and its Tats, and those are pretty much across most of our socials, but they've all been popping up just below us for the whole time. Thanks so much for being here. We really hope you can join us for the next one. As I said, we're going to have some good content, and I'm sure it'll be nice and lengthy. There you go. As I've said it, the socials have popped up. I'll stall for 30 seconds while the socials stream through. Davey H is saying, loved it, boys. Great stream, even if your opinions are shocking. Well, let us know, mate. Let us know what you would have done. In fact, go comment when we put it up on YouTube or on Twitter or anything. Go comment what you think the perfect order is, mate.
I feel like if we were keeping score though, I had more opinions that Dave was in line with, I have to say.
All right,
I feel like Dave was probably pointing the opinions of shit at you, mate.
Oh, all right. Well, all I'm going to say is, as much as we love having you in the chat, Dave, you're not the judge, jury, and executioner on Star Wars opinions, eh?
Who died and made you the king of Star Wars opinions?
But no, it's been absolutely awesome. Really, really hope that you guys are gonna come and join us for the next one. And yeah, we will see you guys. We'll keep you all up to date.
Yeah, we'll post it all with what we're doing.
Yeah, what's going to happen, and
you don't want to miss out. And everybody's missed my cool T-shirt. I wore this in honor, but with the way my camera is, you can't really see it. But if anybody can get this, I will be really, really impressed.
There you go. So, chat, I'll give you 30 seconds while I just get teed up for ending the stream. I'll give everybody 30 seconds in chat to tell us what that stands for. if you can get the first line, that's cool, and I'll get that you understand what it is.
Yeah.
Jamie says, "I'm gonna watch back tonight. Link me the YouTube vid when it's up." Will do, Jamie. It'll probably be tomorrow. It'll be available as a VOD on Twitch, but it'll get uploaded to YouTube.
Yeah, thanks, Jamie. Appreciate the support.
Probably tomorrow. I haven't actually created the YouTube channel for it yet, so once I do that, it'll be up.
It'll pop.
And Dave said it's a heavy burden, but I've accepted it. So Dave is judge, jury, and executioner of Star Wars.
Good.
Okay, so I think we'll leave it there.
Yeah.
No one in chat's commented, but if you're watching on YouTube and you know what that is, then let us know.
Yeah, please do comment.
Comment down below and let us know. And as I said, comment down below and let us know if there's anything that you want to see us discuss in the next one. But yeah, other than that, guys, all I'm going to say is thank you so much for being here with us, enjoying it, coming along for the ride, and we will see you all in the next one. Brian, as it's my channel normally,
yeah.
Just to put this out there, by the way, Brian's going to be hosting all of these for me. He's not a guest, but he is a guest on this channel for the first time ever. I'll let you sign off with the iconic line.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Really appreciate the support, and of course, may the force be with you.
See you later, guys.